Yo, what is shaking, everybody? Welcome back to Surface Noise. You were on the B side. Thanks for being here. We got a lot of fun stuff planned today. We got some great people joining us today. Right now, you can just see me and Brandon, but there are others. There's Jay. We got a couple other people that are going to hopefully join us as well. Just to give you an idea of what we got going on today, we are going to kick off with best or most memorable vinyl record experiences or pickups. And of course, it's always fun when you guys chime in on that as well. We want to know what just epic finds you guys have had or just really, really cool vinyl experiences. And we will get into ours. And then from there, we're going to shift into best trilogies in music or our most favorite trilogies, by a band. So take a band, give them the 1, 2, 3 punch, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And just the 3 back-to-back-to-back records that we think are just are awesome. And so you guys add yours as well. And then we will jump into a freestyle and hopefully we'll get some, I think we have a couple fun topics for that one as well. So, and then we'll show off some records. So let me introduce the folks that we got so far today. We got Brandon, the Hall of Famer. What is up, Brandon?
What's going on? Cheers.
Good to have you. Good to have you. We're vibing. And then we got Jason Rojas. What's up, Jason? How's it going, man?
Thanks for inviting me back on Spins.
Of course, always. You're on speed dial. The auto responder, man, right there. I appreciate you. So let's see. We got, what's up, Daydream Vinyl? What's up, AZ Mick? Good to see you guys. So yeah, I kind of want to jump into favorite or most memorable. It's funny, I saw when Chance sent the email out last weekend. Jay, I don't know, did you come up with this? It was so funny because I had the idea to do something like this too, so it was perfect. I'm like, okay, great. Let's talk about, really cool pickups or experience. So having said that, Jason, do you want to kick us off with that?
Sure. We're gonna do a round robin, right? So
yeah, let's do round. Of course.
The best for last. How about that?
Okay, I love it.
So one of the coolest things that I found at Used Kids Records, which is a store in Columbus, Ohio, and this was in the free bin at the front of the counter, and it's the Chirping Crickets, Buddy Holly and the Crickets, the original, I think 56, 58, I think, on Brunswick. So this was free.
The price was right.
I was like flipping through it, and then I held it, and the owner looked at me and goes, "Yep, take it." And I was like, "What?" So ever since 1990, I think 8 or maybe it could be wrong. Maybe 2000. It's mine.
Dang, dude. That's a first press, you said?
Right? So, I mean, if you're not familiar, right, this is sort of like early rock and roll, rockabilly, Buddy Holly, of course, with these glasses.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can't really see it, but those are probably the worst teeth possible, but again, free. Just amazing,
Nice.
Can't beat that. That's awesome, dude. Just in a free bin, man. So how did you feel? So you didn't even have to go up to the register and embarrass the guy. You just could pick it up and walk out?
Well, no, like I showed it to him and then he just told me like, "Yep, free, take it." And, believe it or not, back then, like that's the best score you can ever get, I'll show another that'll probably piss other people off, but we'll hold it.
We're just going to start off slow with the Chirping Crickets OG right here for free. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. All right. Let's go around. What do you think, Brandon? You got something?
Yeah. And I think with most of mine, I kind of thought about it from the experience standpoint, like some of my best or favorite experiences. And one of the first ones that came to mind as soon as I saw this question was this one right here, which is Stylophonic, Made Music and Technology. Really cool 3 LP set from 2002. It's just kind of like a dance, somewhat electronic, type of thing. Like not a huge band at all. Favorite song off here is one called Bizarre Mind. When I used to work at a Buckle for a while, it used to come on like, the system that they play in the store. And I just really love that song. And so I finally kind of researched it, figured out who it was. And there was a guy over in the UK that was selling this. And he only had like $20 on it or something like that. So I bought it, and he sent me a message after he mailed it off, and he was like, I'm new to eBay and I didn't realize about like the overseas shipping and all that stuff. So, it actually cost me $12 to send you the record, even after you paid me. But he's like, but it was my fault. I didn't know. So I went ahead and sent it. And so after he sent that message, I sent him a message back. I was like, that's very cool of you. I really appreciate it. And I sent him an additional $25 at the time, which is kind of what makes this memorable. Because after that, he sent me this email that was like I guess, it was a very, very long email, maybe like 4 or 5 paragraphs. And he was just going on about, that was so amazing that, that you sent that extra $25. And he started talking about like all of this stuff that had been going wrong in his life and how he had kind of lost faith in, people caring about each other and being good to people, and like how some people had really kind of ran down on him and he just lost his job and all this other type of stuff. And it was just kind of really like this really, really heartfelt message that he sent. And
That's cool.
we actually we went back and forth a little while, just kind of, talking and, uplifting stuff and that type of thing. And we were doing these through eBay, like emails through eBay. And then the record arrived, and, he's told me how glad he was that he knew it was going to a good person and a good home and all of that. So like with the stuff that we talked about, it was really, really touching to connect with someone like that deep and crap they had going on in their lives at the time, and just sharing stories, based off of a $20 electronic dance record that ended up getting sold on eBay. So every time I see that cover and every time I listen to this album, like, it just so makes me think about him. And this is like 12, 13 years ago, if not even a lot longer than that. But I still think about the guy to this day, and just kind of that short, brief, like intense but brief friendship that we shared. So that's kind of a really cool connection as far as an experience with a record, with that stylophonic.
That's cool. Yeah, it's cool when you can kind of develop, especially people that I think are new and maybe struggling, to kind of get started and stuff like that. I met, this isn't one of my picks, but it reminds me of meeting a guy through Discogs, and he didn't have the best ratings. And I think when he first started out, he made some mistakes and stuff like that and just got beat up. And so, but he had some records I wanted, so I was kind of willing to take a chance on it and stuff. And we ended up doing some pretty good business and stuff. And I just leave him, I'm like, look, I maybe I can boost your score a little bit. Like, let's do some business. And then if I have a good experience, I'll leave some positive reviews and stuff like that. And that's what happened. And he was super appreciative, and, got him from like a 60% or whatever to like a 80 something percent. So it was, worth it for him. It was worth it for me and stuff, because he was a good seller. Everything went fine. It was just, I don't remember what he said, but yeah, he had some issues in the very beginning, and people just kind of beat him up for it. So
yeah, that's good stuff, man. It's just one of those great lessons. Like, everyone you come across, or you stumble into every day, like, you have no idea what's going on in that person's life, and it's just, one kind word, one kind act, just the smallest level of support. Like, you never know how you're impacting somebody. So that record always reminds me of that now.
Yep, for sure. Well, I'm going to let you guys go a little bit. I have kind of a bigger story. I don't really have anything to show about it, but I have a tale to tell, but I don't want to do it now. I'll let you guys keep going. We'll see if someone else joins us too, and then we can get them in the mix. And so let me let Jay go again. Here we go. Here you go, Jay.
Okay. This is another one that I found in the free bin. So, Tales from the free bin. Now, there's a catch to this. There's a catch to this. So, I found it in the free bin, but it was missing the record. But I'd never seen the record before, and I think I've showed this a long time ago. But this is, I believe, I want to say early 70s. This is Parliament Osmosis.
Oh yeah.
This is the first
man.
Parliament record.
Yeah.
And if you can see it, they're all dressed up in different costumes, right? I believe one of them is an Indian, a clown, a cowboy, a preacher, some space guy, and there is no guy in diapers. But so this is the first Parliament record. Again, I found it in the free bin, the cover. I told the owner of the store, "Where's the record?" And he just shrugged. So I found the cover, and then it took me at least, I think, 5 to 8 years to actually get the vinyl.
Oh, there you go.
So somewhere, some guy in Discogs was like, "I don't have the cover, but I have the record." And then I was like, "Have you ever been to Columbus, Ohio?" But I didn't have the record. I just tell me the record. And then I was able to, of course, Frankenstein both together, right?
Yep.
Nice.
Well, sometimes a cover, that's the hard part. It's kind of good that you got started
Yes.
there.
And the cool thing about this record, I mean, other than it's rare, but I think Record Store Day, this year, they
Yeah,
put
just
it out,
reissued it.
which was great,
Mhm.
and I think that's the first time this has ever been reissued in like a big kind of way, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's wonderful that everyone can get it and it doesn't have to be, rare, because like I said, I've never seen it in the wild ever,
Mhm.
Yeah, those are tough, man. It's like you see them online, but like you said, I never see them out in the wild.
And the very interesting thing about this, if you know Parliament, like they started as the Parliaments, like a R&B band, they mutated, and then this style of music was sort of like rock and all over the place, and it was a failure. And that's when he, started that funkadelic, more of a soul funk thing, which was more successful. And then I think he was doing it just to get out of his contract out of Warner Brothers Victus, or was this Capitol Victus? Yeah. So he's that. So most people don't know that George Clinton's all about like, signing contract, getting a payday advance, and then like getting out and signing with another label and getting another advance, He's one of those guys.
Oh, that's interesting. So he didn't sign like big contracts for multiple, like a bunch of titles and stuff. Like,
Well, he did, because I think the Funkadelic is on Casablanca. Or is it? I can't remember. It's such a convoluted history, to be honest.
yeah. That's awesome. Another free bin.
Yes.
Tales from the free bin, man.
Yes.
You're right, dude. That's awesome. Do you got another one, Brandon, or?
Yeah, I pulled out a few here.
Sweet.
Let's see. This may not be kind of a find, but it's kind of an experience or a story. This is Boris. You can kind of see their title kind of through there. Kind of a what are they? Is it Japanese or from China? I think a Japanese kind of metal band kind of thing. But yeah, really cool group, and went to see them a number of years ago at this little place called the Firebird, and it was kind of cool because, obviously I took records to get signed and everything, because I was hoping to get a chance to meet them. And I'm standing there by the DJ booth, and I'm talking to a guy, and we're just kind of talking about this group, that group, and how the music discussion starts. Then another guy comes up and starts talking with us, and we're kind of yapping and kind of going back and forth and all of that. Then the show's about to start, so we stop yapping, and the first band comes on. It's great. They change over the stage, and then Boris comes on. And it's like when Boris comes on, me and the other guy look at each other, because that's when we realized the third guy that came up and talking to us was the freaking guitar player, Takashi from Boris.
Oh, nice.
We had no idea it was him. I don't know, it's just one of those things, maybe trying, not being able to recognize like as good a facial recognition, kind of across cultures and that type of thing. Because he just looked like, just a cool guy that came up and just started talking. Like I had no idea. And then all of a sudden, like he's on stage playing guitar, and we're like, how in the hell? Neither one of us knew that was him. So yeah, we had a chance to kind of meet him after the show, and say, hey, we totally didn't realize that was you out there, and that's so funny. We laughed about it, and that's when he grabbed our albums and he signed, and they took them backstage and got the other two to sign as well. So again, when you talk about just kind of like an experience, that may not be actually buying the album, but that's still one of those stories that every time I see this sitting on the shelf, I just crack up about that, going like, how in the heck,
And I was going to ask you, at least you got to see him afterward and be like, dude, I didn't know that was you.
Yeah,
or could you even say that? Like, oh yeah, no, we knew that was you the whole time.
He cracked up about it when we first said it. He was just kind of like, yeah, it happens sometimes. And it's like, well, we would love to get some autographs. And he was like, yeah. So it was a cool moment, a great experience.
That's awesome. I think the closest I ever got to that was I was on a first date, I think. I think it was a first date, and went to a show to see some jazz. And I think it was Yoshi's in Oakland. And so we go there and stuff. We're sitting right in the front row, and it wasn't a big artist or anything like that, but we're like right by one of the saxophone players and stuff. And we're just vibing and everything. You know, I'm vibing. I'm like smiling. The guy's wailing and all this stuff. And it was just so fun to just be right there getting spit on, you know, by the sax player and everything. And so afterward, we go around to the bar to have drinks, and I'm like, "Yo, you're so good, man." You know, he's all, "Man, I wanted to reach out and give you a fist bump like the whole time." I'm like, "Oh man, you should have, dude." So we did chat it up a little bit, and I'm thinking like, "Oh, I'm on a first date. I'm sitting here talking to the band, yeah, but yeah, anyway, that was fun. That was fun too. All right, Jay. I know you got a big one too, so I'm gonna let you keep going until.
Well, this is the last one. I don't want
Okay.
to piss people off. So another store, I don't know if I should mention it because I don't want to break his heart or his wife's heart or anything, but he's a good friend of mine and he owns a record store and he occasionally gets some cool things. And then I saw this in the racks and I couldn't believe it, honestly. And a friend of mine who was a DJ, he was like, "Why are you all nervous and stuff?" And I said, "I'll tell you later. Let me just pay for it." Okay. So this is Black Sabbath, Never Say Die.
Ooh.
And if you look at it,
someone wrote on it.
Scribbles on it, you know. Okay. So right here, let's see if we can point to it. That is Mr. Ozzy Osbourne, I believe, right? I think down here is Bill Ward. And one of these, I think this one is Geezer Butler. And then this one, of course, is Tony Iommi, I think.
Jeez.
So these four make up this, whatever, this metal band called Black Sabbath. No big deal, right?
NBD.
And the price was, guess the price, you guys.
Oh, come on, dude. Another free bin?
No, this was not free.
Okay. Wait, how did you acquire that again?
It was in the racks and I saw it and I was just like, what the? This can't be real. Like, and then I whipped out my phone, was making sure that it was the signatures,
All right, if we're guessing, go ahead, Brandon. What do you think?
Knowing a Jason story, $20.
I mean, I was gonna say knowing a Jason story, $100.
All right, Spence, is that your guess? 100?
That's my guess. Yep.
Okay, the price of this was $8.
Oh man, dude, how?
I don't know. I think they just ignored it, and God bless my friend, and I will support your store till the end of your days.
Wow. Why 8? I mean, it's like even.
Well, I mean, it's Never Say Die. It's the last one. Well, at that time,
I mean, that's true.
With Ozzy, and it's it's kind of but I think it's still a great record, and plus, I know it's not the first, Black Sabbath, but it's pretty cool,
It's very cool.
I mean, you got the man himself right there, man. Ozzy's name's right on it. That's killer.
So that is there's a couple others, but I didn't get them in time. So I'm going to end with, this is the coolest score,
That's just badass, dude. That's awesome. You should just have that hanging up behind you at all times, man.
Well, I think, for I think next month I'll just hang it, So,
yep.
So everyone can just get mad at me, They're already mad at me anyway, so might as well just raise the stakes, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're going to elicit hate, you might as well go all the way down that tunnel, man.
Yes.
That's awesome, dude. You got another one, Brandon?
Yeah, I got one more we can do. Finish up with one here. And this is one kind of more so about the excitement of the find. Go into this store, one I go into a bunch of times, and it's kind of a very long store. And they have, kind of some wow wall here, and then one all the way in the very back. So as soon as I go in, I spot this thing like all the way in the very back on the corner. And I remember having this overwhelming feeling of someone is going to grab that before I can make these 20 steps to get to that wall. Like the anxiety, like literally just flooded. And I'm trying to, walk through cool, but also walk through with a purpose. And long story short, with an album you can kind of really see from a distance, it was
Ooh.
this Danzig gold stamp promo with the hype sticker. I mean,
get out of here.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that just sitting back there, and I was like, no.
You're like, your life slowed down. You're like, no.
It truly did. It was like something in a movie where like everything was just moving in such slow motion. Because you're like, I know some bastard is gonna grab that before I make it to the back wall. But yeah, I got back there, grabbed it. Again, fantastic, beautiful copy. I think it was $45. That's what they had on it. And
oh man.
Awesome grab. So that was definitely one that was a great find for sure.
Wow, dude, that's awesome. And you didn't know it was a promo until you got up to it?
No, I had no clue. I mean, all I saw was that big white skull, and I was just like,
beeline for the skull. That's awesome. All right. Well, I was hoping we'd have some other participants here, but I think maybe because we went live early today, maybe some people got time to mix up. All good. So I got a quick story. It's funny. I kind of wanted to talk about this at some point on my YouTube channel, but I thought, this is a good time to talk about it or to bring it up. It's a story that goes back to my childhood, and I'll try not to I don't know. I'll try to be a good storyteller. Here we go. So 16 years old, living in Hayward, California, probably the end of 1988. And riding skateboards and all that stuff. And I would build skateboard ramps, like out on the sidewalk in front of the house and like ride them. And like I'd meet lots of people that way. Other skaters would come and we became friends and stuff. And then we'd skate, every day after school on those ramps. And but people would always come by either to watch or get their board or whatever. And one time this kid comes by and he's like, oh, hey man, can I go get my skateboard? Yeah, come on, man. Come, get your board. Let's, he's looking for a friend, or whatever in the neighborhood and stuff. And so he skated with us a little bit. And one time he comes over into the house, I don't know, probably to get some Kool-Aid or whatever we were drinking. And he sees I have some records. He's like, oh, you like records? I'm like, yeah, I mean, again, this is like 88, right? I'm like, yeah, I like records, of course. I listen to music, He's like, oh, my brother is in the military right now. He had a record store and all of his records are now packed up in my grandma's house. I'm like, wow, that's cool. He's like, we could go over there. It's the Hayward Hills, because I live in Hayward. If you guys know the Bay Area, Hayward, it's kind of it used to be kind of the butthole of the Bay Area. That's kind of where we lived. We were broke, and stuff. And so, but anyway, so he's like, yeah, we can go to my grandma's house and you can look at the records. Okay, cool. Well, we have no way to really get there except to ride our skateboards. And I don't remember if my mom wasn't home or we didn't have patience to wait or I didn't or didn't know anyone with a car or whatever. So we ride our skateboards over to his grandma's house, miles through Hayward into the hills. We get all the way down there. We go up to the front door and knock on the door and there's no answer. So I'm like, all right, well, there goes that idea. He goes, hang on. So I follow him to the back. And it's funny how, my memory, how I kind of remember this. There was a little house or something in the back too, like a mother-in-law suite or something. But I remembered almost like a tree house. And he's like yelling up to the top. And another guy pokes his head out. He's like, hey, this is my friend Jason. Is grandma home? We're here. I want to show him the records and stuff. And he's like, no one's home. I don't know what to tell you, Like, okay, whatever. We skated all the way down here. No big deal. He's like, okay, well, hold on. So he goes, go around to the front of the house and meet you over there. So he comes around. I go over there. I'm waiting for him in this neighborhood. He comes around with either a wrench or a screwdriver or something. There's bars on the front of the house. So I kind of messed this up. There's bars on the front of the house. And one of the windows is open, except there's bars in front of it, right? And so he goes, and I'm like, okay, there's bars. We're not getting in. And so all along the way, it's like our plan is just getting screwed up, He goes around, he gets a wrench or whatever, and he starts taking the bars off. So now I'm like, are we just breaking into a house at this point? I'm trying not, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm 16 years old. I'm like, look, if we can get to these records, however we got to get to them. But at this point, he's taking off the bars. I'm worried, looking around. We're in Hayward, by the way. Again, just to reiterate, not a great place to be messing around. And so he gets the bars off. He jumps in the window. Meet me at the front door. Okay, I go around to the front door. He lets me in. We go to the bedroom with a window that he jumped in, opens the door, and I'm not kidding you. It's your dream. It's cubes of records stacked from floor to ceiling, the full room with like rock A, rock B, rock C, jazz A, jazz B. I'm just like, whoa, this is crazy, man. He's like, just, take what you want. Again, this kid is trying hard to make a friend. I'm like, all right, hey, if this is how you want to show I'll be your friend either way, but hey, records. Okay, cool. So I started going through these boxes. I'm just pulling them down and I'm like, all right, and the funny thing is this was a record store from the late 80s. So there's nothing there that's like post 1988. This is like the end of 1988.
Awesome.
My musical taste at that time, thanks Shane, was like new wave and alternative and all that stuff. So I'm going for like Depeche Mode, The Cure, the B-52s, and anything I can find that's like Talking Heads and just anything like that. Meanwhile, I'm skipping over who knows what, right? And it's like Black Sabbath and like, whatever, OG jazz records and stuff. And I don't care. I'm just going for that. I start making a pile and I'm like, bro, how are we going to get these home? We like came up in skateboards. Like so again, he's like, well, I'll be right back. So he goes out again. I'm like, all right. I keep digging through. I must've had like 200 or 300 records just stacked up. I just went A through Z, all the new, at that time, new music and stuff, the 80s stuff. And I'm just standing there waiting for him. He comes back. He's all, okay, let's start hauling stuff out to the front. And we do. And I can't remember, either he had a cart or something like that, or he had some plywood to put on the skateboard or whatever it was. But we start, lifting the stacks of records into this makeshift cart, whatever it was, And like, as we're walking out, he's all, we want a stereo? I'm like, every step of the way, I'm like, are you sure this is cool, dude? Like, I just feel like I'm going to go to jail today, man. He's all, no, my brother, he's not, he's fine with it. He's in the military, blah, 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 whatever. Just take, do you want that stereo? I'm like, okay, how are we going to get that home? It's like 2 tower speakers. It's like a turntable. It's a tuner or whatever, an amp. And we just start stacking it on, dude. And we're like holding this thing. It's like, how are we even going to get down the driveway, let alone all the way back to my house? The sun is going down. It's late in the year. Commute traffic is starting to kick in. And we just start going. And the thing I remember most about this trip, as we're going down curbs and up curbs and shit's falling off the car, and we're like balancing this thing going 1 mile an hour to back to my house. And people are driving by. And again, this is Hayward. And like traffic stops and guys are hanging out the window. Hey man, is that stereo for sale? Let me get those speakers and blah, blah, blah. We're like, no. We're just trying to get out of there and just get home so we don't get like robbed, which we just maybe robbed a house. I don't even know. Anyway, finally get to my house, unload everything, the records and the stereo. And I just keep waiting for a cop to come up behind me and arrest us and all this stuff. And so, that's the story. And I had these records for a few years. And I always go back into my head where I'm like, man, dude, if I knew then what I know now, what would I have grabbed? But those records have come and gone so many times, it's not even funny, right? It's like we moved around a lot. We had to sell stuff at yard sales. Like it was gone. But yeah, I'll never forget that, man. Just like riding our skateboards to get... why did we think that was a good idea, man? And then like stacking things up and riding them home, man. It was hilarious. So, and breaking into a house, man. It was like, I hope there's a statute of limitations on that, man.
That's an awesome story, man. I love that kind of stuff. Absolutely.
How old were you when this happened?
I was like 16. I mean, this was like end of 88. So I would have turned 16 in October. And I only remember that because of other stuff that was going on in my life. But yeah, and this kid was maybe like 15 years old, and he also wanted to, and trying to think back. 35 years now. But it's like he liked my cousin and stuff, and so yeah, he was really trying to like, make friends and stuff. But it was like,
That is
man,
so
dude, we went a
cool.
long way. That's a
That's
long way
so,
to go.
dude, a bike, a skateboard, and a buddy, that always led to good times back in the day, man.
I'm
Right.
telling you, man, it's true. It's true.
Uh,
And there was nothing that would stop you.
yeah,
You just did.
yeah,
There was no give up.
exactly.
Yeah.
Can I tell maybe like you make me want to tell this story really quick?
Oh,
And like just
absolutely.
like 90 seconds here because it's somewhat on the same lines, but it's one that I love to tell every time I get the opportunity to tell it. Um, like when I was in around fifth grade, I grew up in Southern Illinois in the Carbondale area, and I always kind of say on the wrong side of the tracks. I was in like the Oak Street projects and, just everything that kind of goes along with that. And up to that point in time, the only music I really listened to was like gospel and R&B, maybe some disco coming out of the 70s, but that was about it. So in the middle of my fifth grade year, my dad gets a job teaching as a professor in the state over, right? So in the middle of my fifth grade year, we're moving 400 miles to all of a sudden just like total suburban Missouri, and we come into this neighborhood and I mean, even like the guys I meet and everything, everybody's cool. It's just a totally different world for me all of a sudden. Like all of a sudden, no one looks like me, and it's just a complete and total like culture shock. And so there's I pull up, two kids come up as soon as they see the U-Haul pull up, and the first question was, "Do you have a bike?" "Yeah, I got a bike." And you go off and do your bike thing.
Yeah.
So two days into that, the guy became my good friend named Matt. He goes, "Hey man, do you like music?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I like music." He's like, what kind of stuff do you listen to?" And I'm naming off all these, like Gap Band and stuff like that. And he's like, "Have you ever heard of like Led Zeppelin or like Van Halen?" I was like, a lead what? Like what? I have no idea what you're talking about. He's like, "I tell you what, dude, I'm gonna make you a mixtape." And over the course of those 2 days, he puts together these two mixtapes. And I'll never forget putting in that first tape. And the first thing that shot off of there was Over the Hills and Far Away by Led Zeppelin, One Vision by Queen, and Barbara O'Reilly by The Who. That was the first three songs.
All right.
And I was just like, what is this stuff? And he started like telling me that this is AC/DC, this is Van Halen, this is, and it was almost like the scene from The Matrix. Remember when they plugged Neo in and he was learning like jujitsu and everything, and like he was just downloading all this information.
Yeah.
For like a week straight, it was that I was like, "Man, give me more, give me more, give me more." And he's just, because his brother was a DJ at a radio station, so he had all of this stuff right at his fingertips. His brother had an insane record collection. And he's just like feeding me all of this stuff. And it was just so overwhelming because I didn't discover like my dad listened to Led Zeppelin and my mom listened to ABBA. It was just one straight culture shock. Here is all classic rock, hard rock, glam metal right now. And it was like the coolest thing in the world. I mean, I'll never forget that feeling of being like that excited about life, and I can't wait to go hang out with Matt today because what is he going to show me today? What tape did he make for me today? It is just like I said, it all starts with a buddy with a bike, a buddy with a skateboard.
Well, and you're like a blank slate I mean, not a complete blank slate, but I remember that too, where it's like you meet people, especially you move, like you said, we moved a lot too. And you move somewhere, you make new friends, and it's like a whole new thing gets uploaded in your head, music and stuff. And yeah, I remember that multiple times going through that throughout my teen years and stuff. It's funny, you said something that reminded me of something else. I have said this, mentioned this before, but when I was talking about the first time I remember buying a record with my own money, I was like 10 years old, and we had just moved, like you said, and I had a bike, and bikes were everything in the 80s, right? I mean, and so I ride my bike. I had some money, whatever, $10 or something, and there's a record store, and I ride to the record store, and it's right across the street from the high school that I went to and everything. This is before I went there, but I don't even remember how I found out about it. Like maybe we drove by there one day, or I looked it up in the yellow pages or whatever it was, but I go there And I start digging through records. I'm going to go buy a record. And only thing I really know about is like what my mom is into. And my parents were divorced by this time. And so I start looking at like Grateful Dead stuff. I start going through all the Grateful Dead, and I see a record that we don't have, and it's Oxo Moxoa. Really cool cover and everything. I'm like, okay, I'm getting this. And I am a super cripplingly shy kid, by the way. Only child, just can't talk to adults or even other kids until like, whatever. We start to make friends and stuff. And I get up to the counter and I put my Grateful Dead record on there, and he looks at the record and he looks at me and he's like, "Why are you buying this, dude? How come you're not buying Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd or Van Halen or something?" And I was literally so terrified that I started to like put the record back. He's all, no, I don't care, dude. You can get it. But he's like super gregarious guy. He's all, no, I'm just saying, you can get it, whatever. So I pay for it. I get it in my little bag and everything. And I ride my bike home all the way back home and everything, and get home all proud, showing my mom, look, I got a Grateful Dead record we don't have, but, yeah, that was a funny experience too, man. It's the first time I remember like just going into a record store on my own and just buying something, 10 years old.
Yeah. And kind of, guys, see, now you're making me continue on too by sharing that kind of stuff, because like that same story I was telling you about, we have cable for the first time, right? So I'm helping my mom vacuum one day and the TV's on, but the volume is off. And all of a sudden, like I see this really cool guy with like this cool haircut, and he's making all like these badass faces and everything. And I'm like, who is that? And so I turn the vacuum cleaner off and I go over to the TV and turn up the volume. And it was the video for Billy Idol's Eyes Without a Face.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know at the time, but that was my first experience with MTV. That's what this channel was. So I remember after seeing that, I remember telling my mom, like, if there's anything I can get for Christmas, I want to have that tape. Can you get me that tape? Can you get me that tape? And sure as heck, like that right there.
Oh, there it is.
Copy that she bought me for Christmas.
What?
Like 5th grade.
Oh, that is so cool, dude.
This thing has followed me around ever since. So this was the first like official album I ever got out of the store, was Billy Idol's Rebel Yell.
That is cool. That you still have it, dude. That is so cool. That is so cool.
Same case, same like the actual copy right there. The thing's been following me around since I was 9-10 years old.
That is awesome. Yeah, I think I have one thing that I had when I was even a teenager, and I think I was around that same time, that right after the experience with the records, and I was probably like 16, I guess. I guess the same age, but we had moved again, so I think I was just in the next house we were in. And I bought we used to always rent videos, and a lot of how I would learn about new bands sometimes was like going to the video store, and you'd go to the music and there'd be like live shows or whatever and stuff, or compilations of videos. And I remember getting Adam Ant. And again, what's funny is, come full circle, I saw Adam Ant for the first time in my life this year, but this is going back to being 16 again. And it was a beta cassette. We had a beta player, not even VHS. It was beta. And it was a live show of Adam Ant and everything. And I remember getting that and taking it home. And I still have it, including the receipt and, where we bought it from and what I paid and the date. So that's really cool, man. I'm glad I still have that.
My gosh, yeah, I can listen to those stories all day long. That stuff is just magic to me right there.
It is. I'm glad this kind of morphed into that. What's up? What is up, man? How's it going?
Hey, not much. How about you?
How's it going, man?
It's going good, Dawson. You're here. Thanks for coming. I know we switched up the times on you a little bit today, so.
Yeah, we got Spins, we got Jason, and whoa, how did we get Seal on here?
Someone had to bring a cool factor to the channel.
Yeah, that's why we have Brandon here, man. Someone's got to elevate a little bit. So what's up, man? There's still time. Do you want to? You have a story? Do you have a record to show? What's your big pickup or your big experience?
So the big one is the most recent one. A few days ago, I went to a kind of a small record show, pop culture, small Comic-Con thing, and it was in like some guy's house with a garage, and there was people there, so it was safe and stuff. It looked like a store in there, and then you go in the other room, and there's video games, and then there's just like people walking in and out. There's clothes things, and like this guy, he had this store, and he wanted to sell some things, so he was going to move back to Winnipeg, and I said, "Oh, hey, you must know the Guess Who." Because he kept saying that something about he was like, oh, I don't like the Guess Who, blah blah blah, and I just kept roasting him the whole time. I was like, Burton Cummings is going to say something about that, maybe Randy Bachman or something. So I just kept joking about it like the whole time. And every time I found a Guess Who record, I shoved it in his face. I'm like, ha ha, there you go. And I was near the end of the record grab, and I was like, oh, I haven't found any records yet. I was in the last bin, and I flipping through it and flipping through it and flipping through it. And then I got this one here. So let me take that off. And I only got a couple records on this one, but this was Woman Love by Burton Cummings. And it's one of
You
the
should
best parts
show
of
the
it.
cover. You should bring it back a little so everyone can see what the cover is.
Yeah,
So
There we
that.
go.
there we go.
Burton Cummings, Woman Love. But also, if you look a bit closer, let's see which
I
side
can't
it
see
is.
Jason
Okay.
with the logo there. Jason Rojas. I can't see him because of the.
If I just move it over a bit, it's signed by Burton Cummings
Oh,
Oh, it is. Okay.
in
Oh,
1980. So it's
Huh.
it's signed there, and unfortunately, it says to Morris, Luck of the Irish. But I double checked, and that is in fact Burton Cummings' autograph. And then I got another one.
I think it's funny too. Just before we skip past that, is like we were talking about autographs earlier. Is
Yeah.
how do you guys feel about having something that's been sort of signed to someone else, kind of personalized? And I have mixed feelings about it, right? Like you get something that says, "Hey, Ron, happy birthday" or whatever, and it's like on the one hand, my feeling about it is like on the one hand, it's kind of like, it's like this is really intended for someone else or whatever. But then on the other hand, it's kind of like it has a story also at that point.
Mhm.
What is your take on that, Dawson?
An autograph is an autograph.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's signed to Joe Cool or Frank, whoever. It's an autograph. It's there. Who cares?
Yeah.
I got the thing, man. This Burton Cummings held this, the greatest freaking Canadian rock band, the front man of the greatest Canadian rock band, held this in his hands and signed the thing, so that it's mine. And so then I think the one a couple of years before is I got my own way to rock. I only know like that one on there, but it should be a good one. I'll just show you the other two, and then I'll tell you how much I got them all for.
Okay. This is all like one pickup.
Yeah, this is one pickup, so I got two more.
Gotcha.
This is the Rolling Stones Voodoo Lounge VHS tape.
Oh, there you go.
Voodoo Lounge, my favorite Stones is like 72, 73. But this is where they came back in the 90s and they made a comeback. And it was cool because here's Bridges to Babylon, 98, the next tour. It was cool because they have this rock and roll access. They have like these leopard skin coats and they're jumping all over the stage. It's just unreal. It's like a praying mantis and a grasshopper, and just it's so minimalist that the way that they play the guitar, but it's so excess from the stage and everything at the same time, and they got some really funky grooves around that time. So I got those. I got these two records for $1 each.
Ooh.
$1 each. And then I paid $5 for the VHSs, so $7 for for all that in good condition. I'll
Hell
take that
yeah.
any day. And to wrap that part up, the best the best record grab is my most recent one, because that's why I love doing this. So my best record grab is going to be my next one. They get better and better each time.
Very nice. Yep. I love that, man. That's cool. That's cool. Jose, are you out there? Okay. Let me know when you pop back in. Yeah, that's hella cool. That's a great way to look at it too, man. It definitely feels that way for me too, because I'm like very much these days. I used to be someone that was more like, go to the record store and get what you got to get what they're going to give you, right? It's like whatever's there, find something, bring it home. But now I'm very much like I'm looking for specific stuff, and so it does feel very much like the best grab is always the most recent grab, because that's the one I've been working for or hunting down or whatever, So yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, and what you were saying about going back to what you said about the autographs.
Mhm.
I've always been one that, like, I maybe have 2 or 3 in my collection that I picked up by accident. Like I have like a gray slick autograph and a couple things that just came out of some radio stations that were going out of business. But I will never go out and look for or pay for an autograph that wasn't actually signed for me. There's a lot of meaning that's missed with. Now, granted, like what Jason showed a moment ago with the Sabbath, it's like, well, give a crap who that's meant for, all 4 of them signed it. So I mean, obviously you use, I guess, common sense, if you will. But just in general, if someone gets something signed, they throw it on eBay, like I would never buy an autograph off of eBay or something like that. It needs to be for me.
Hello? I can't hear Jason.
Sorry, I was
know,
muted.
I can't hear.
I was muted. Sorry about that. I got you. Okay, so yeah, you're saying that it's part of it is the personal story and meeting the person and all that for you.
Right. Or even if I don't meet the person, like Billy Creone, who's does a lot of music, he travels and opens for a lot of the 80s acts that are still doing tours. It's like, he'll go on the road with Cyndi Lauper or Lisa, and he'll be like, "Hey Brandon, I'm going on the road with Cyndi Lauper. Send me over any stuff you want her to sign for you." And I'll send my stuff and she signs it for me. So maybe I didn't meet her, but this copy was signed for me.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really important to me when it comes to autographs.
Got you. Jay, you're muted too, man.
Let me amend my story. I got into my DeLorean, traveled back to 1978, because I was born in 78, right? And then I got it signed by them, right? In England, right? No, in California, right? Then I jumped back into my DeLorean, time traveled back to, oh my gosh, I need to remember here, 2015, and stored it in my storage space,
Now, Jason, we know if you had a DeLorean, the stuff that you would come back with would put that to shame.
That's right.
Although some of the stuff you have is proof that maybe you do have a DeLorean, man. This guy's going to 88 miles an hour all the time.
No kidding.
Jose, I want you to chime in on this if you want to, but I see you stepped away again.
Jose's going to show his signed Adam Sandler records and his signed, Rodney Dangerfield records. We're waiting.
So Jay, on the topic of Michael Fremer, do you is one of those that you have signed, or is it I can't remember, or is there writing on it or something, or?
It's like a promo. Like,
okay.
I don't think it's signed, but it has like a promo from his lawyer, which could be his father. It's kind of weird. Where's brother?
Really?
I have no idea.
When did that record come out?
I think that came out in the I want to say like late 70s, early 80s, I think.
Okay.
So I mean, at that point, I think he was a radio DJ. If I don't know if you know his history. He was a DJ in Boston, like New England area, and then he thought he was going to do comedy. Came out. That's like the only record on that label. You know,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah. But I've heard that he'll sign the record because I think Nick Pantazzi he's got a signed Fremer record. So if I send it to Fremer and then I can fulfill this panel's wish that it's signed to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the furthest back I remember him in terms of talking about his history and stuff was working on, I don't know what his position was, but working on the Tron album, right? When
Yes.
Tron came out, which is interesting because when another story about like being a young kid, I remember being 9 years old, because again, we moved around so much. Like I can remember where I lived and I'll know the year because I moved like every year, but we lived in Concord, California. My parents were separated. My mom was dating a DJ. And so he would buy me records till I get in her good graces, right? So if, when a holiday came
Wow.
around, it was like, and I remember him getting me the Tron soundtrack when it was new. And then the Raiders of the Lost Ark story, the story of I showed that on the stream once, with the booklet and everything inside. So I remember those. I still have those records, but yeah, it's funny. I think about Tron. I'm like, man, I remember seeing the movie in the theater and pretending that I, was like riding a light cycle around the house and everything, and then having the soundtrack and stuff. So it's funny that Fremer has a tie to Tron too.
Cool.
Jose, what do you got, man? We'll jump in before we go to the freestyle. Now you're muted.
Oh yeah, I have crazy hair now. Well, I wanted to show some records I got signed last week. So, for example, all the records I've had to this point, I can't see Jason's face, which is very funny.
Oh no, sorry.
No, don't worry. Because
I
of the
thought this
logo.
was.
All the signed records that I have are records that were signed to me. There are certain specific bands now more than ever that I think it's easier, quote unquote, to get stuff signed. Like when you buy them from them. For example, if you like Swans or anything Young God related, the singer for the band Swans, he signs everything he sells on his own website. So everything you buy comes signed, blah, blah, blah. And all the other records that I've had, when I've gone to see them, he signed them for me. But up until last week, I didn't own any records that were not signed to me or that I didn't ask the signature. And the only reason I bought them was because, well, first of all, it's a very rare record. It's an experimental record from here from Mexico. But I bought it. So I'll show you first this one, which is pretty rare to get. It's called Interfase, or you can read it in English, I guess, interface. But this is a really rare record. Experimental music. It sounds a little dated if you want to know the truth, but it's experimental music from this specific region where they didn't have access to a lot of bigger and technological advances. So it sounds a little bit like what they had at the time, right? Making the best out of it. But I bought it because they told me that this collection was bought from a DJ from here, for where I live. So I bought it, and it's signed to his name, Alfonso Teja. So I sort of was like, I think I've heard that name before. So I bought it, and then I looked the guy on Facebook, and it turns out I have a lot of friends in common, like 30 or 40, something like that. So I was like, well, I'm going to add him. I add him, and I told him, hey, I just bought this record. It was signed to you. And he was telling me how he was like into very early rock and roll, like 60s bands from here, from Monterey, and how he had a radio station job for 30 years and all these bands that he interviewed, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, I sold every single record that I have. I already sold it except for 2. And I was like, oh, shit, all right. I think this one was 80s. '84. I think it was '84 or '86. But so this has ties. Antonio Rusek, which is among the first electroacoustic artists from Mexico, he had a label, and this was released on his label. That's one of the reasons I bought it. But so he said I only have 2 records, and I didn't sell them because they were too weird, and people, I don't know if they wanted. So he sent me a photo, and I was like blown away because I've been looking for this record for 4 or 5 years now. It's an experiment. Again, it's no one's ever heard about it, but it's so scarce and weird that I was happy to have it. So it's called Los Valses de Alejandra. So it's like the waltz of Alejandra, and it's a compilation of Mexican, Belgium, and French artists, and they're all doing waltz, hence the name. Like in varies guitar, piano. It's a little noisy over there, but it's mostly like sort of like classical-ish, avant-garde type music, contemporary, and it's completely signed inside. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it, but the cover is like this.
Yeah,
It's paper,
that's funny.
right?
Wow, that is thin, dude. Wow.
It's bendable, yeah. So this is like a sleeve, but that's the so I put the record outside, right? But that's the actual thing. So I was thinking about it when I got it. Like, is it worth it that it's signed, or is it not? Because it was not signed to me, but the fact that it was signed to a important artist from my town where I live, and that they actually like met them and invite them to their show, blah blah blah. I think that's pretty cool. For example, this insert, look at this. It's like one of those like old computer paper.
Oh yeah, dude.
It's all like what do you call it? Biographies of all the artists. It's numbered 223 out of 560, something like that. So that's pretty weird. And then this is the actual just cover, and it's just like insert. And again, it's like signed by most of the people involved.
Oh, that's cool.
That's neat.
So I think like as autographs go that are not for you, there could be like a very small margin. I agree that I wouldn't go my way. If it doesn't have a name like To Edward or whatever, I would buy it. But like books, I have books that are not signed to me or whatever. But I think like in the rare occasion that it was signed to somebody else's, like someone that's famous or you admire, or you just find out that they live here, I think that's a very small margin, but yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's crazy. When you said that it belonged to that guy, was part of his collection, I thought you got it from him.
No. So
that's crazy.
He saw an ad on Facebook saying like, we buy records, right? Like everybody's local record shop probably has like ads everywhere. And he saw it and he sold every single record he owned. I think there were more than 5,000 records. I think he sold them all to the record store for like $500. Like 5,000 records, and they were all like mint condition, and they were all promos and stuff. Not only in Spanish, but a lot of in like in English. So he had a lot of rare stuff, jazz, a lot of punk. So the fact that he had like a lot of experimental music, I think it's interesting, just because it was sort of like a reflection of what was going on musically, that it got to the point that it became a part of radio stations, because it's not, like this type of genres is not really radio friendly. So the fact that they existed in the sense that part of the government and part like a lot of researchers and people that had PhDs or work at universities, blah, 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 they were doing this type of music, that it's not per se the most popular one at all. I think it's pretty interesting. So I just wanted to, I have other signed records, but this was like the better story, I guess.
That's cool. Like everyone, I think everyone showed signed stuff except me. So I had to pull one out. I only have one signed record, I think.
Oh, really?
And I got it off the website. So I think Jose mentioned getting them off the website, and I think he signs every copy, and it's Cherry Poppin' Daddies, Zoot Suit Riot, the swinging hits of the Cherry Poppin' Daddies signed by the lead singer Steve Perry.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
he even draws a little martini glass and everything on there. So I thought, oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
Plus, I can say I have something signed by Steve Perry, even if it's not Steve Perry of Journey. But anyway,
It's a different guy.
yeah, different guy, same name, different guy. So that's cool.
That must suck.
Cool.
It's like what is it? Office Space, right? What is it?
Well, here's a question though. Like we talk about having stuff signed for yourself or having it signed for somebody else. What if the artist signs the album for you and spells your name wrong?
Oh, that's happened to me.
Ooh.
I've had that happen to me. Yeah,
I have
I
too.
just keep it in the background, I guess.
Yeah,
Let me
but-
show you one more that I have. It's just a. So this is, I guess you could call it signed, but this is Devendra Banhart. I don't know if anybody knows that artist. It's very popular. He sings in Spanish and in English, but this is the cover. But he didn't sign. He did this, like doodle. Well, that's the
Oh,
singer.
that's cool.
Devendra Banhart. He did this, and in the gatefold, he signed the whole thing like weirdly.
Oh, that's cool, man.
So basically, he graffiti the fuck out of my record, except the front, which I guess it's cool. It's not in the front,
Yeah.
and it just has the Devendra Banhart thing, which is a nice little. Anybody wants some freak folk in their life? It's pretty good.
You have to make that a topic next time, Jason. We can talk about a show sign record. It's kind of fun.
I'm telling you, I know. I didn't know this was going to morph into that. I like Jeff. I have an autographed Devo Energy Dome, even signed by the one who passed. Dude, that's right up my alley. That's awesome. In fact, I never got a red Energy Dome. By the time I went and saw Devo, they were doing the blue Energy Domes. And I remember standing in line to get it and being like, where's the red? And he was like, the guy who's like selling him's like in character. He's like, the blue energy dome is to protect from blah, 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 blah. I don't remember what he said, but something. I'm like, okay, just give me the blue one. But,
Well, I don't know if you guys do that as well, but like, for example, this is when I was in college. I went to see this band. I haven't played this record since I saw them. I didn't knew them. I just bought the record because they were there. But I kept like the flyer.
oh, that's cool.
And so when I actually go and see them, I keep this. But
Yeah.
funny enough, one of the bands that opened called Los Mundos, I went on to release 3 records on my label, so that's pretty. What do you call it? Envision or whatever. Not always happens, but
Yeah. Brandon, you're right, man. We could do a whole show on.
Yeah, I know. I'm ready to start pulling stuff off the wall now. Just to
I
start.
know.
Like, that's not what this show is. I need to. keep
Well,
my
I mean,
cool.
oh, that's cool. Is that signed? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I don't know why it was there. It was a ripoff, by the way. It was like, how much was it? Like $20 or something like that for one Christmas ditty he did.
Yeah, I've seen that before, but I've never had it.
You don't need it. You don't need it.
Not missing much.
No.
All right, well, maybe we could get into something like that. We still got some time. We're going to go into the freestyle here. And I guess we'll take what the second topic we were going to talk about. We'll move it to the freestyle. And depending on how soon we wrap that up, who knows? We can just start showing some other cool stuff. Continue this conversation. So I appreciate everybody for watching and listening to the podcast. Don't go anywhere. If you are live, we're gonna trickle right over to the freestyle. So I appreciate everyone for watching. Thank you so much. Let's change banners.
I want to say that I was not here. I didn't read. We were going to be an hour earlier, and I was eating. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. You made it. That's the important thing.
I sort of made it. Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right. So, second topic is favorite artist trilogies. And I thought, I know we kind of last time, in fact, I think Brandon and Dawson were here last time. We did like a whole who has the best catalog. This is kind of like the best back to back to back. So, a trilogy where it's sort of like what 3 albums anywhere in an artist catalog are just kick ass. You know, maybe the best records in their selection, and just kind of share some things from our collections that we think are like the 3 kind of in a row that really speak to who that artist is, or whatever, just kind of favorite or cool or best or whatever. So, and I am prepared. I got a bunch of them for this one. So, who wants to go? Should I go first, or
I'll go? Yeah, go for it, Jason.
All right. So, in fact, last time I was on here, I did talk about a couple of these records, but my first one is Depeche Mode. And for me, sort of the way the trilogy starts at, well, because it kind of sometimes depends on where you start. It's going to end up going to depend on where you end. And I had to end in a certain place. So I had to start here. To me, Music for the Masses is just such a great album. And this is kind of like when I came into to appreciating Depeche Mode. And this is when they came out with their 101 album video that was recorded, the movie that they did that was a group of kids that followed them around and went on the tour with them and stuff. A lot of the music is from this record, Music for the Masses. So for that reason, because that was another video that I was watching a ton of, you know, in high school years. So yeah, this is cool, man. I was lucky, you know, when Chance was out here and I was taking him around to different record stores, I happened to see this OG and snagged it before he could get his meat hooks on it, because he found a lot of great stuff out here too, but I saw that one first. So, but yeah, we start there. And then the next album was Violator. And this is kind of the big one. This is where people that didn't know that they liked Depeche Mode started to like Depeche Mode and enjoy the silence and all that stuff, the videos and everything that were coming out. Personal Jesus was another massive one. And this was massive, man. I mean, and to be able to come back after the Music for the Masses and their tour and the movie, and to make this was like, damn. And so it was great kind of to already be into Depeche at this time and to have this one come into existence, and just absolutely love that record. And then you think, how can they top it? And to me, they did. I know to a lot of people, maybe this is, they don't hold this in the same regard as like a Violator. But the third one on my list of the trilogy is Songs of Faith and Devotion. And when I was just started going to college, I had the CD player in the car, and this was playing all the time. And maybe for that reason, it just has a special place in my heart. But this record is so freaking good, man. Just from beginning to end, the way it's sequenced, it's just very cohesive in the same way that Violator is very cohesive, you know? And this is the same way. So anyway, that's my first trilogy, Depeche Mode, from Music for the Masses to Songs of Faith and Devotion.
Jason?
Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. Hold on.
Oh, man.
You stole one of mine.
Oh, okay. Dang. Sorry, dude.
Celebration, though, but yeah.
Yep. I hear you.
Great minds.
Great minds. Yep. That'd be easy to start there. Black Celebration, too, man. Great one. Well, go ahead. Pick your backup, Brandon.
See, I picked out a few here, too. I'll go with this one. I'm going to start with Jason Isbell and Southeastern. It's going to be the first pick. So obviously, I'm going with Jason Isbell here. Had to go with this one. I mean, this album came out in 2013, and quite frankly, I feel very comfortable saying this is one of the greatest albums to come out in like the past 20 years. Like this album is just his songwriting on this, storytelling, and just how this thing flows is just unbelievable. I just saw him in concert about 4 weeks ago or so. But, you know, songs like, you know, Cover Me Up, Different Days, Live Oak, Relatively Easy. Again, just amazing storytelling. But especially the song Elephant on here, a story where he's kind of talking about his girlfriend more or less dying of cancer, and just kind of the stuff they're going through, and kind of the elephant in the room, like how they're trying to ignore and play stuff off. And Like, how do we ignore this elephant in the room, even though we're doing all these different things? And the way he tells a story, it'll literally have you in tears if you haven't heard this album, but just fantastic and so moving. And he followed that up with Something More Than Free, which is kind of continued down the same lines. Again, just amazing storytelling. You know, if it takes a lifetime, 24 frames, just all kinds of great stuff. Just really check out those two albums. You will not be disappointed, especially Southeastern. And then the third one that came after that was Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit. And this is the Nashville sound. And it's still kind of the same thing. It's kind of that, you know, not country pop, but that, you know, I don't know whatever you want to call that genre, whatever. But that guy is just so freaking talented. His ability to write amazing melodies and just tell some of the most absolute moving stories. It just paints these amazing pictures with just such simple words. Just the way that he puts it together is it's an emotional roller coaster ride. So those are going to be my, you know, just kind of 3 back-to-backs that you cannot go wrong with.
That's awesome, dude.
totally
I made
agree.
a note of it.
Totally agree.
Elliot smoking that ganja, huh?
It's good stuff.
That's awesome.
Stuff.
All right, who's ready to go next?
I can do it.
You want to go, Jose?
You want to go first, Jason?
You want to go, Jay? Go ahead, Jay.
What's
We'll
He's
piss off
shaking.
Jose
He's
here.
shaking. I can't
so
see him.
we'll show this from 1969.
Ooh,
I have that.
All the
promotional.
way from my
Okay.
storage space, you know. There it is, the Stooges, right? 1969, right?
Yes,
Sounds right, yeah.
And then they followed it up with 1970 Funhouse, right?
Love it.
Ooh.
Let's see how much I bought it for to piss off Jose.
Oh, come on.
You know how much I pay for my promo copy that I have? 0 pesos.
Oh man.
That's cheaper than $5.
And then they followed it up, right? The sleaziest one of them all, right? This
Raw.
one.
Yeah, not my
Raw
favorite.
Power, right? So
Yeah.
in a way, like it's kind of like this one. I think, of course, a different sound, right? Different guitar player, more Stones, you know,
Yeah,
more
the
little
guitar
bit more
player
variety.
became the bass player.
Yeah. More of that Mick Jagger, Keith Richards vibe here.
Yeah.
Bowie-esque.
Yep, very Bowie-esque, you know, versus this one, which is like the wild one, I think,
The
right?
best.
Yeah.
The best.
That's my favorite.
This one is your favorite?
Love Funhouse. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's awesome.
I mean,
And then I think this one is more the beginners, right? Like sort of, you know, I
Right.
think John Cale was.
no,
I think-
I wouldn't say beginning. I think it has weirder songs. The first one, for sure, but it has "Anne," which is my favorite Stooges song. But yeah, Funhouse is like, if you say the first one is the better one, I wouldn't disagree. But Funhouse is just straight up just a better record in general. Like, and hits harder.
Damn. Nice trilogy right there, Jay.
Sweet.
Oh, wow.
And your examples are awesome as well, man. Those are all OG, I take it.
Yep. Gotta go hard. Gotta go hard on this surface noise. You know, we go hard.
Yep.
We don't hold back here.
It's like, come on, bro. Who are you talking to? Of course they're OG.
Right.
Iggy Pop, he's the godfather of punk.
All right, Jose, do it. Do it.
Do it.
All right, here we go, Jose.
I'm gonna go with a weird choice here because you have to, man. So I would say that I pick up Swans, one of my favorite bands, Swans. So after they released a monumental record called "Soundtrack for the Blind," they disbanded. Lead singer went to do like his own version of the band that he wanted to do, like more folky, dark folky type music. And then they came back. They did one record, and I wouldn't say it bombed at all because it's experimental type music. So it just, how many people can you really like disappoint, right?
Yeah.
But it got praised. They did good shows. They play live and everything. But then, they released this, which is called The Seer, which is an amazing record. For those that don't know Swans, for example, Karen O sings in one of the songs, from Yeah Yeah Yes. So if
Hmm.
it's a very beautiful and pretty song, and if you see there, Acorn Family that and Jarbo used to be a member from the band. Can you see this? But then they released this, which is one of my favorite records. It's called "To Be Kind," and they had massive success when this was released. You can see the baby there. It's a triple LP, a cardboard with pictures of babies inside and outside. I just think it's pretty great. They start doing like everybody that contribute to the like a CD they put out. They put all the names of the people that contribute over there. I think it's pretty cool. And then I saw them on this tour, which is called The Glowing Man, and it's signed by him. I saw them in 2016. Is it the other way around? No, it was. So yeah, I don't know if anybody here likes Swans or stuff like that, but if anybody here likes long ass fucking songs and they it's like if you took out what's free jazz about free jazz and put it in a very chanted and meditative but very raw and heavy and fill out music with guitars and bass. It's just basically that. It's the same. What I get from it. It's basically the same thing I get from free jazz, spiritual jazz, but in a rock type formation. So
Yeah.
it's like that in trance mindset where you become like basically like notion of time it's gone, the notion of what's happening around you, and you become like one with a song that's 20 minutes long, 10 minutes long, 5 minutes long. I would recommend it. That was it.
That sounds cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh, and somebody asked, this is my favorite Swans record. Well, from this era, from all Swans, that would be like Children of God, probably. All right, that's it. Somebody asked.
Martin has some good some birds picks right there, man. Those are great ones too.
Yeah.
All right, Dawson, I think you're up.
So I think the third album there was a triple album, so that was a trilogy.
Yeah.
They're actually all are triple except the first one the first one and the second one. Yeah, both of them are triple records,
Okay. Wow, that's like 9 right there.
and this is a double one.
Cool.
Yeah.
So in light of the trilogy, I chose the one with the album called Trilogy. I do have the Emerson, Lake and Palmer Greatest Hits upstairs CD, but I'll just quickly do a review of my experience with these first albums. So if you're talking about long songs, well, we have a 20-minute one coming up. So yeah, you take the first ELP album. It's a little bit rough around the edges, but when you get past the Barbarian, you get to Take a Pebble, and this is where you get a taste of the early prog rock and around that era. So it's funny when Greg Lake writes it. So I was thinking about like skipping a pebble across the lake. So you just have these images. The next one's called Knife Edge, and that looks like some of it was arranged by classical musicians. But the story behind that song was Lemmy Kilmister. He used to roadie for Emerson, Lake and Palmer as well. So he gave one of the members a knife. So that was the knife that was used in the music video for that song, where he would take that and he would experiment with the piano there, and that's how we got that distorted noise with that. So then the next one, you have a 3-part song, and then Tank. So Tank is basically the lead up to the next album, which is Tank. And then Lucky Man is one of those rare songs by a band that has progressive music. It's a 4-minute song. It's one they probably had on the radio, and it's it's a pretty good one. It's a good way to finish up that album there. So this brings us to Tarkus. It's like every time you go into a record store, you probably see this album and you're like, what the heck is this album? It's like, you have to listen to it, but you never get around to it. So I finally got around to that one. I think my buddy had a copy. We listened to that one. Again, Tarkus is pretty cool. You get to probably, halfway through and you're really rocking. And then get to Aqua Tarkus. Pretty sweet. Yeah, again, front to back, pretty good. And then I think probably towards the end, Are You Ready, Eddie? And they just have some cool titles in there that are a part of it. It's not the best prog album, but it's one of those staples that you gotta listen to, and it just brings the aura and the everything that Emerson, Lake and Palmer does for the if you're a prog beginner, that's a good one to go to. So that brings us to Trilogy. Yes, the next third album. Yeah, again, Enigma, Sheriff was pretty good. They're kind of starting you off with some slower songs before they really start showing what they got. So yeah, Trilogy, when you get to that one, pretty cool. But I mean, when you get to Abaddon's Bolero is the last one, as they're just like 1/3 of the song is one guy, the next third is the other one, the other third is the other one. I just say it's just they got some gymnastics going on there, and they're just kind of showing off. But if you're having an album called Trilogy and it's the third one, they're gonna make it count. They made it count in that album, and I wanted to kind of test my skills with this one here. I was gonna take the easy road and go to Led Zeppelin, but I went to ELP, which is 3 members, and that's the trilogy that we got. So overall, I would have to say that when you're getting into prog, you got Pink Floyd, you got Rush, you got a couple other bands, and then you get to Emerson, Lake and Palmer. They're testing you. They're testing your prog skills and your patience. But when you get to past the first few songs, you're gonna love them, and you're gonna play the rest of the discography.
Boom. Mic drop. Awesome, dude. I need to, I'll be honest, man. I have not gotten to Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I haven't got deep into the catalog yet. So I definitely need to check those out. Wyoming Dave, you got something for us today?
Yeah, I brought for you just a second. I don't have very many, artists of. I just thought I just pick some random Led Zeppelin albums.
Oh, there you go.
Well,
well, that's a good random one right there.
good album. Not the OG, it's a Walmart repress, but until I found the OG. And Physical
Dancing
Dream.
Days. I love that song.
This is a good album. It has different types of music.
Dancing Dave.
Dancing Dave, yeah.
2 records that different.
One
Physical
song.
Graffiti. He's holding up Physical Graffiti.
Yeah.
Very nice.
There's they do a lot of different styles. Trample and the Cashmere, especially,
Oh, yeah, it's so
2
good.
records that. And
Yeah, first one was Houses of the Holy.
yeah.
And now number 3.
Presidents.
Presents.
It's just a good rock album. I don't have any particular thing to say about the tracks. Achilles' Last Stand, good one, long one.
Very cool. Very cool.
Could I show you one more back?
Classics.
Yeah, you can, or we can do. I think we're going to go around again one more
Oh, no,
time.
go ahead.
but-
Go ahead, guys.
That way we can stretch it out.
Mode albums were good picks too. I have.
Oh, I know. It's so funny. Sorry, Brandon. I was like, I tried to pick one I didn't think anyone else was going to do. Brandon was all over it.
That was the very first one I went to. The very first one was Depeche Mode.
That's awesome. All right, let me go for my second one here. Let me go with this one. I don't know how we're going to get through tonight. So I had to do Prince. Again, it's funny. I tend to pick up these trilogies, and today's picks are ones that I grew up with, starting with the young days. And so I think the first one for me to start the trilogy off would have to be Controversy. And I remember having this cassette tape and listening to this thing. Sometimes, some of this, Prince stuff, you had to listen to like, with a flashlight under the covers kind of a thing. You know what I mean? It was like, you didn't want to get the moaning going too loud and stuff when the parents were in the room. So, but I love this one, man. That's the first one. And then, of course, what's also cool about these trilogies is like, that's kind of when I came into Prince as like, I don't know, understanding him as owning a record and listening to it, not just someone on the radio or whatever. And so then this one came out and I got to be there for it in 1999. And just awesome classic double LP, classic videos, little red Corvette, 1999, of course, all that stuff. And again, probably had the cassette tape around that time, but yeah, just a great middle to the trilogy. And of course, where I got to end right here on Purple Rain. Just classic. I think this has got to be. I have all the Prince's 70s and 80s catalog and stuff. And while I love the whole range, I love his early stuff. I love the middle stuff, the stuff that came at the end of the decade. As a concept, the full album, I just think I have to go with Purple Rain. I know that's the typical, whatever. It's like, oh yeah, of course. But there's a reason why this is so great, man. It's just packed. And Baby I'm a Star is just a rock. Love that fun song with just, great to sing to and bob your head to. So that's my second trilogy, Prince.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I hope I didn't pick us another one of yours, Brandon.
No, but easily could have done Prince though, for sure. Like for me, I pretty much go all the way up to like Under the Cherry Moon, which arguably is one of my top 2 Prince albums. But then kind of everything after that is when I kind of get
Okay. Yep.
But yeah. Okay. So see, I'm gonna go with. That's kind of a good. Let me go with this one here. How about we start with. Go on the hip hop side a little bit.
Okay, there we go.
Ice Cube, America's
Little
Most
Cube.
Wanted. Yeah, especially kind of going back to this time in the early 90s. This came out in 1990, right after Ice Cube left NWA and kind of started his solo career. And I mean, just came out with an absolute bang with this album right here. I mean, this was freaking huge. I won't go through all the songs and stuff like that, but I mean, this was definitely one of those mainstay albums of the 1990s where, NWA had obviously kind of come along and started this whole, gangster rap thing, if you will. And Ice Cube just kind of took it to another level. Like, he kept like the same storytelling and everything that was going on with that. But he kind of added a little more of the art form to it, where a lot of guys at the time just seemed like they were just kind of literally rapping and saying the most foul stuff they could say. See how many F-bombs, and how many bitches they could drop in every other sentence. But like, Cube actually brought a style. You could actually tell he had a skill that he was putting forward inside of that context. And this was kind of the album, I think, that really kind of set that mark. So America's Most Wanted was an absolutely huge hit.
I would agree. And also his vocals were so good, man. Like, I just love his voice, and the way he raps is just so unique to him and good.
Yeah, yes. Some guys just the way that words and syllables roll off their tongue is just like they were meant for that.
Yeah.
Like Rakim, Cube, like, all those guys. And then he came right back with the Death Certificate, which was another fantastic one. He finally cut off that Jerry curl, which was kind of nice. That Jerry curl's getting a little rough, but this is 1991, and again, it was just another absolute huge follow up with stuff like My Summer Vacation, Steady Mobbin', and then of course one of the first big dish songs, if you will, in kind of the hip hop world, which was No Vaseline.
Yep.
You remember that? Because I guess after the first album, there were a couple of remarks that NWA made on their follow-up album about Ice Cube kind of being a little bit of like that Benedict Arnold, like he was kind of a sellout kind of thing. And he came back and just blasted them on that song. And just one more thing that kind of took him up to another level. And so then after that, he came up with The Predator. And it was just, these first three, Cube just absolutely killed it. Couple albums after this that were okay, but these three are just kind of legendary throughout the history of hip hop. And of course, on here you had stuff like Wicked and Check Yourself with DOS Effects and a number of other things as well. So just
It was
three
too.
three legendary hip hop albums right there. That's a heck of a trilogy right there.
Yeah, it is. That's awesome. Are we at Jason? I'm sorry if I'm going out of order here. Are you good to go, Jay?
Yep. This one's for Mr. Stunty. We'll show it. And for Spectrum Archives, we'll start with one of my favorite bands, Broadcast, right? So I believe, Jose, right? This is 2000, right?
2000 exactly, yeah.
So Broadcast is, I would call this more what? Like noise rock and then Baroque, rock.
Yeah, Baroque, poppy.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Like dreamy.
Yeah,
poppy, dream pop, with a little more edge than normal dream pop, I would say.
Right. So this is their first record, The Noise Made by People, right?
You check that out.
Yeah, Brandon, I think you would love this.
Oh,
like,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, the way you're describing, I'm gonna write it down.
Well,
Yeah,
if you like
cool.
Macy Star, you might like this. This is mellower and less rocky than Macy Star.
Yes.
But
Is that on the Warp label? Is that what I'm
yes,
seeing?
it
Or
is. Yep, that's
Yeah.
right.
oh, that's hell. Okay, I definitely got to check that out.
And then I think in two years or 3 years later, right, 2003, they followed it up with Ha Ha Sound, right?
Yeah, like 2 years after, yeah.
So I believe this one's a bit more noisier, I think, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, it's more like Stereo Labby.
Yes.
Not in the sense that it's like quicker and out of control, but like it's definitely pretty in all sense.
I think I saw them during this tour. It was actually amazing. Like actually just full band, light show, a lot of psychedelics, My friend wanted to leave early. I was like, are you sure? Do we need to drop acid? Are you sure? So again, amazing cover here, as you can see, right? Like this kind of
that's cool.
craziness.
Cool artwork, yeah.
And then they lost, I think, 2-3 members, and they, shifted down to more of a, I would say like this record, right? Tender Buttons, I think 05, I think, right? This is more like, how do I say this? Like a stripped down Kraftwerk in a way,
Oh,
the
cool.
noise is creeping in, but the vibe is, this is my favorite record.
It's
of
pop.
theirs.
I would say it's poppier and calmer,
Yes.
but it's not. But it's noisier as well.
But I think it's more menacing because of
Yeah.
they're holding things back, but it's in the background, that noise. So if you were like starting with Broadcast, maybe the first record.
I would say that one.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. It's Tender Buttons, the third record.
For people that like used to like indie 2000s indie, or I think the first one specifically, it's more it's calmer.
Yeah.
So maybe that one. And unfortunately, she passed away already.
Yeah.
And they just released like a B-side-ish type thing on vinyl. I think it was released already on CD, but it's beautiful music to listen to like all year round.
Cool.
That's cool.
Broadcast.
Love it. All right, who's up, Jose or?
Well, it was me and like the other timeline.
There we go.
All right. So again, going with not the popular picks. Or I don't know if you noticed, but I put half of my records in another room, and now I have less records in this room. So that's not good for my picking.
You can't just reach anymore.
No, yeah, exactly. But so I'll talk about one of my favorite artists of all time, Mr. Kevin Ayers. All right, so this is the first record. Kevin Ayers.
Joy of a Toy.
Yes, Kevin Ayers was a member of Soft Machine.
Oh yeah. So
And before that, there were a little unknown band called the Wildflowers. Wild with a Y. Very pretty band. It's never been officially released, but there's like a bootleg of it. And there's members of Caravan, Egg, Soft Machine, and Gong. And it was a Canterbury prog band. It's basically the start of that English, very specific type prog that later on Pink Floyd would start replicating in their first versions of the band and stuff like that. But Kevin Ayers, it's heavily and Robert Wyatt. It's very mingled with a lot of bands that you probably know, like Pink Floyd as well, right? He also has a bunch of connections. He played with a lot of people, a lot of bands. He has this record that I won't recommend as a first listen, but this is Kevin Ayers, John Cale of the Velvet Underground, Nico from the Velvet Underground, and Brian Eno. This is a good record. Robert Wyatt plays in this. He was the drummer for Soft Machine, and who also plays here? Mike Oldfield, right? So Mike Oldfield was, Tubular Bells, the music for The Exorcist. So he was the bass player for him when he was 17 years old. This is a very pretty record. This if you like the first two Pink Floyd records, you would really like it. It's very psychedelic, very pretty. There's the ballads, so it's basically like pop music, but with a very avant-garde edge. Be it the chord progressions he uses, instrumentation he picks up. But if you like prog music, or like I hate prog music, but you will probably love Canterbury prog, which this is Canterbury prog music. Because I was actually talking with with Stunty, and he was telling me like, nah, you don't like prog music, because all my life I said that I like prog music, but no, I actually just like Canterbury prog, which I would put like King Crimson and then specific thing. But basically, like, if you like the first two Pink Floyd records, you'll probably like this. The only song that Syd Barrett ever recorded with anybody else besides his solo records and Pink Floyd was with Kevin Ayers, a song in here that was released as a bonus track. But it's an amazing record. I would suggest everybody doing it. After that one, he had this little known group called The Whole Wide World. And again, I think it's very poppy, but it's very avant-garde. It has weird passages of music. Around this time, he left his bass player alone in his house with a tape recorder, and he recorded Tubular Bells. He composed Tubular Bells during this time around. But this is a one-off band he had called Kevin Ayers and the Whole Wide World. I count it as the part of a trilogy because they all really like instrumentally there. It has some ballad type situations sometimes, but it's very psychedelic and it's very weird, and it actually gets insane. Robert Wyatt plays in this as well, which is interesting because, for example, Syd Barrett, Robert Wyatt, and other two members of Soft Machine play as their background band for 3 or 4 songs on their debut, which is pretty good. And Nick Mason would remain friends, and he would later on produce Robert Wyatt. He would later on produce Gong and all these bands, and even have Robert Wyatt played on his solo, Nick Mason solo. And this is the third one. This is my favorite record of all time. I know that's a weird thing because
Whoa.
you've probably seen this record in your life.
What's the
But-
title of that one?
It's called Whatever She Brings, We Sing. This is my favorite record of all time. I don't know how to explain it. I think it's because I listen to it and I don't get bored by it. Every time I find something nice and pretty and interesting. There's weird songs, there's ballads, there's psychedelia, there's a little bit of everything, but and there's no explanation. Right?
No explanation.
I just love it. I think it's a very pretty and underrated discography. He still has a lot of good records after this one. I think all of them have at least one or two songs that are incredible. But the first three and maybe the next two after this one, I think they're flawless in a lot of sense. But again, so expect some. It's very easy to get into his music. Again, there's like love songs, and then all of a sudden there's like singing about dark wells, and it becomes like that scene in Wizard of Oz when they're like going through the thing, and everybody's like, what is this shit? Like scary for a second, right? Everybody's like scared for like 30 seconds. Well, that's what this happens sometimes on this record. But,
so give us what's the time frame on that one, Jose? When did that come out?
This is 72.
So okay, early 70s. Okay.
Yeah. For example, the first Soft Machine record, which is this one, when they went to promote it in the US, they were the main act, and Jimi Hendrix was the opener.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah. So Kevin Ayers, you can barely see there, he was in the band just for the first record, and he was so exhausted with touring everything. He was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not gonna be in the band anymore. But he remained friends with everyone in the band. Again, they all played together, they all did stuff together, and then he recorded this one. And Robert Wyatt, the drummer for the other band, he plays on this. And again, they always kept in touch. But it correlates with a lot of stuff, especially like if you've been interested in like Brian Eno, stuff like that. I just got this that I always try to buy, but I never buy. There's another Brian Eno project with Roxy Music, Phil Manzanera. But stuff like this, I think it's worth going into, because when people tell me like, oh, I like prog music, and they only listen to like Yes or Rush, you're missing out on like really good, weird, original music that is just so out there and beautiful and British. This so British. I can't extend that. But
I feel like we could do a whole show on prog, just because I feel like with prog almost has the fuzziest corners of all genres, and all genres are a little fuzzy, but there's something about prog, where I'll hear people mention a band they consider prog, and I'm like, really? Or
well,
it's just,
I don't consider Pink Floyd to be a prog band at all.
Well, we heard Led Zeppelin come up too. Are they prog?
I've never heard anybody call Led Zeppelin prog, especially because they were like a blues-inspired band, and they came from what is it, the Yardbirds,
right?
Thing. So I would never consider them. No, but like again, Canterbury prog and the start of prog music, it's literally these motherfuckers and Soft Machine, Caravan, Egg. Gong, and there's a great book if you are actually fan of Pink Floyd, not just Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, and The Wall, if you actually like the whole band, because again, it's fine if you say I don't like the band, I only like this 3 records, it's fine. You don't have to, but don't say I love the band and you're like, oh, Stars Are Full of Secrets sucks ass. Or Roar, right? Or Okmagoma, I think it's horrible. No.
Or Metal.
Yeah, exactly. I think Metal, you could say, and Atom Heart Mother are the only 2 records that would sort of put in that Canterbury prog genre, because again, it's very out there, long songs, instrumentation, and all these weird ass things. Because even if you don't know it, like for example, that Alan's Psychedelical Breakfast, sort of reminiscent of what Gong was doing in this record. But I won't go into detail about that. But I think they're really great bands. Read about Nick Mason's autobiography. It's full of Robert Wyatt, Kevin Ayers, Gong type stuff, and and what was actually happening in that era, and Robert Wyatt's thing. Yeah, because Pink Floyd, the first two records are very Canterbury proggy. The third one as well, I think more Obscure by Clouds. It's so underrated. Obscure by Clouds, underrated as fuck. More has the Nile song, which I think it's borderline as much as a metal song as Helter Skelter is. So I think that there's a lot of great stuff from Pink Floyd, not just those three records, because they reached a peak that I think they try to replicate successfully, right? Replicated, but it's just a formula, and it becomes a little boring after the 20th time. You're like, wait, they were banging on shit and flutes on Ugmaguma. I want to hear that. That's, at least for me, it's way more interesting because they were trying to get there. So the journey there is just as interesting or more for me. All right, that was my
Gotcha.
half an hour.
Thank you, Jose. All right. Dawson, you got a second one, or?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that connection with the Canterbury and the prog rock. It's quite the education. That one, the first album you had, that yellow one, that's a solid lineup. I mean, you take Brian Eno and Mike Oldfield. I listened to Tubular Bells front to back a few days ago too, and yeah, again, he was 19 when he recorded that.
Yeah.
I
And
like.
he was his bass player when he was started like 17 or 16.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
that's
just
wild.
like the amount of talent right there and the innovation. I like probably about 15 minutes into Tubular Bells where that riff was starting to kick in, and you really kind of got immersed in the music. The rest of the album was decent, but I mean, for what it was quite impressive. So
Check
yeah,
out the live version with most of the South Machine members. They're like all in a circle. I don't know if you know that version.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's. I think that's more interesting than the actual record. That version.
Wicked. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the first three. So maybe we might even cover the Zeppelin discography here, Dave. But no,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the first three. Now, when you have an album
I don't have
called
number 3, so yeah.
you call it number 2, and then you call it number 3, they got to be pretty good when you're doing that. Kind of like Chicago, their first three were pretty cool. So yeah, the first one, I think Dazed and Confused. That's one that kind of jives with me right now. And then you get Dazed and Confused, the movie with Matthew McConaughey, but Snoopy. As far as I know, that song wasn't on that movie, unfortunately. But I think that that song just in itself, it captures like a lot of teenagers' lives. It's like we're just dazed and confused. And all right, all right, all right.
Party.
Yeah, again, that album kind of progressive elements to it, but again, it's more out of the blues rock that comes out of that era. That's that solo on Good Times, Bad Times, and like every time that's on, it just freaking, you just want to rock out. It's got the power for that.
That first
And of
album was
course,
great.
the album covers are wicked. So then you go to number 2. So I showed this one one time. I'll just adjust on here.
That's an
Yeah,
excellent album too.
It's not like an OG, but it was still pressed in '68, 69 around that time. Um, it sounds so cool when you put it on the vinyl out loud, and
Yeah, it does.
the speakers are start swirling around. The sound effects on
Whole lot of love, right?
well, yeah, a whole lot of love,
Well, that's the one.
and yeah, the bass is just rocking from that one. But yeah, my connection to that one is so I did see Robert Plant live, but he mostly played he played rock and roll, and he played When the Levee Breaks, which of course is on the fourth album. But just being able to see Robert Plant, the same guy who recorded some of these songs on one, two, and three, was pretty wicked. He didn't go full. He didn't go all out, but when he did kind of belt things out, you kind of got an essence of that era that he had. So again, on Led Zeppelin 2, I've just listened to that album a few days ago, and I've been uh yeah, I mean Moby Dick, like they got that drum solo. There's not a lot of drum solos that are specifically named. And so luckily I also seen Jason Bonham play for Sammy Hagar in the Circle. And so
Oh,
when
that's cool.
he played that song and Whole Lot of Love. It just felt like you were in the '70s when he was just playing that song, just so retro. When he was able to go and play that basically note for note. Again, yeah, John Bonham had more of a swing to it, but Jason Bonham, I mean, just you can feel the power from miles away. And so when you go and see that songs from record and you go see him live, it brings another dimension to it when you get to see it in multi dimensions. Kind of like Jason, did you see 1999 live, like on New Year's Eve? Like, did they do a broadcast or something on there?
For Prince, or
Yeah,
there was a show. What was that called? God, I don't know if anyone else remembers. It wasn't like the album 1999, but he did a show. I don't know if this is answering your question, but yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember what it was called though. Anyway, I know
yeah,
that
because
wasn't
like I
helpful.
think they might have had Prince appear on the New Year's Eve show, and then I think he played that song, and then there's kind of an event out
Oh,
of
that's
it.
cool. Maybe that's what it was. So maybe it was like a super band. Is that what you're saying? Like it was a bunch of different. They had Prince come in.
I think so.
I have very vague memories of that. So, but I'll
Okay.
have to go look it up now. Once we hang up here, now I need to go look it up.
Yeah, it must have been a fun 1999.
Well, hey, did anyone spin 1999 when that happened, or like in 2000 or anything like that? I used to play certain records on New Year's Eve, not to like hijack your question, and I remember playing 1999 that year, like New Year's. I remember playing like the Grateful Dead New Year's shows on occasion, or like there's
Whoa.
I think there's a Hendrix show. Is it didn't Hendrix, doesn't he have a record that happened on New Year's Eve? Is it the Band of Gypsies? I can't remember, but I remember listening to something like that. But anyway, yeah, it was fun, like kind of bringing in the new year while listening to a New Year's show from the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to go that segue because I like the multimedia experience. So you have the album, and then you might watch the TV show, or you might have a book about something, and it's just like yes, when you get the vinyl, you can read the liner notes and everything, but when you do that, and then you go to the VHS or something, you're broadening your horizons in the whole experience that you have, not just with vinyl, but with the whole media itself. So this takes us to Led Zeppelin 3. I have the CD version of that. And again, yeah, this one, so you really have the heaviness, and then you have a lot of the acoustic version of that. Again, I think Gallows Pole. Yeah, I seen Gallows Pole performed by Robert Plant and Alison Krauss in Darien Lake on their tour last year. So again, seeing that experience, Led Zeppelin 3 was probably one of the first CDs I've heard from a stereo system that I had. 2 bookshelf speakers, and it's a 5 disc. So it was a 5 disc. It was one of the first I've heard from a setup, one of the setups that we have, and that one, yeah, it's cool when you have the little pictures on the album, and then I think an underrated one. It was one that Eddie Trunk was talking about, and Eddie Trunk was a host of some metal stations on Sirius XM. So you have out on the tiles. That's one of the grooviest Led Zeppelin tracks there is, because halfway through the song, John Bonham, he turns around the whole beat, and he has this cool backbeat, and then they bring in the bass funk, and then you have the guitar player doing that funky track, and then Robert Plant doing all. There we go, Jason. Yeah, he's got the top of that, just freestyling and doing some ad libs.
Led Zeppelin freestyles.
Yeah, but it's like his ad libs, and then again, it's a good way to finish off the trilogy. As
Yeah, can't go
Look at
wrong
that.
there. There they
There you
are.
go, he's
There
got
we
me covered.
go. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, he just had. Okay.
Oh,
Oh, no big deal. Just had to pull out the turquoise.
all right,
I
yeah,
think
that's
I think
rare.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
you see it turquoise.
Oops. That's one of those like, oops. Oh, yeah, I didn't know I had the turquoise here.
So he's pulling through. So even though you could kind of rehash like the trilogy, the cool thing is that people have their own personal experiences connected to that. So being able to see one of the songs performed live,
Yeah, that's awesome.
gives the viewers a little bit of a switching it up.
That's awesome.
So that's my trilogy story.
Very cool. Very cool. Can't go wrong with Led Zeppelin. Dave, you got another one? Is it your turn or?
Well, I thought I'd show 3 more. Then these are pretty common albums though. So
Is it Pocahontas too?
did someone mention Jim Hendrix?
Oh,
Ooh, there we go.
The cover's not great,
A
but
little Are You Experienced?
album side plays. It's original.
are you drugged?
Oh, nice. Got the tricolor and everything.
Yeah, that's a great album for psych late 60s.
Hell yeah.
And of course, this is
Little Axis.
a good album too. You guys never heard it.
Dude, I used to play. It's funny because when it comes to Hendrix, I used to tell my dad, I just get done listening to Axis. I'd have to call him up and be like, dude, I think Axis is Hendrix's best album, man. And it's like, but then you go listen to something, and it's like, it's like Zeppelin, right? It's like whatever one you're listening to is the best one.
Right.
Electric Ladyland, the U.S. version.
Electric Ladyland, there we go.
That's a good 2 record set too.
Beautiful.
Luckily, I found pretty good copies on the wild of these 3 too.
Those are awesome.
Shit copies too. So that's my.
Oh, wait, there we go. There we go.
Ooh, yeah.
British version, yeah.
What is that? Oh, is that the LP? I thought it was a
UK
10-inch. Is that a 10-inch? Or am I
That's
tripping?
UK
It did
version.
look kind of small in his hands, didn't it?
I know. I thought that was, at first I thought it was like a
I have
10-inch.
fucking huge hands. What is it?
Okay.
That's a 12.
It was weird. It looked like a 10.
Oh, yeah,
Ooh, everyone's showing there. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I got a copy of it back there.
It's the only Hendrix record I own.
All my Hendrix is upstairs. I can't join in the fun.
Yeah, it's the UK European cover,
Right. Yeah, it's
which
awesome.
is way better than the
version, yeah.
way better.
Oh, the track record, Black Label. Very nice.
Yeah, mine is not. Mine is a
Polydor.
Polydor.
but this is not UK. This is Netherlands.
We got the dueling Electric Ladylands.
Yeah.
Well, no matter how you slice it, great album.
I don't know. I think it's a great cover. Oh, but I will say
I
that
mean, not a bad cover either.
the
Yeah,
gatefold
very
photo
good.
is way better.
Hey guys, I got to hit the road.
All right, man. Dawson, appreciate you. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
Yeah, good seeing you.
Get
We'll
the
see you
lead
next
out.
time. Hell yeah. Do you guys want to go another round or what? What are you thinking? I know we're at 7 o'clock.
I can do it. I mean,
Does
I have
anyone got
one more.
another trilogy in them?
I have one
And
more.
I can, if you guys need time to grab records, I have a whole bunch. I can do one of mine. So
I have some here.
the only question is like, how common do I go? Like, I have
Can
3.
you go so common like
Well, let's do
Ohio
that. I'll do my.
Players, the Ohio player or something?
I can do more common than that.
Van
All right, here we go. Let me.
That the
About
Ohio
3
player.
more. About 3
I'm going
more.
to show all 3 of my. I'm going to do a trilogy of trilogies real quick. Here we go.
Oh wow, that's a 3-for-1, huh?
MJ off the wall.
Oh wow.
Come on now.
A legend.
And then, of course, Thriller.
I used to have that album actually.
Could it be more? You used to.
Well, I got.
I've never owned a Michael Jackson.
Hey, David, you want to be starting some or what? I mean, come on now. You gotta have- Yeah, love this one, man. And some hidden gems in here, like Baby Be Mine. Love that one.
Top 10 hits came from
Can,
your
can they really
Human-
be a hidden
human
gem when
nature?
it's all like millions and millions and millions?
Well, on this record, I feel like that tune's a little. I mean, you got such big hits on here. You got "Want to Be Starting Something," "Thriller," "Beat It," "Billie Jean." You know, and then "Bad," of course.
That actually, I heard most of the songs from that.
Do you have the Weird Al Yankovic? That's the question.
Yeah.
I don't have the Weird Al.
I got the Weird Al.
There you go.
All right,
So
next up,
funny.
how about can we go more common then? Madonna.
First album.
I said
Madonna
Ohio players. I think that's more common.
With a little help from her friends, our man from Chic doing some of the writing on some of this stuff, which was really kind of elevated it.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time thinking of his name right now. Someone will know it in chat.
Rogers, right?
Yeah.
Nile Rodgers.
There you go.
He wrote shit for that? I didn't
I
know
forgot.
That
We got
dude
Like
has
a Virgin.
everything.
True Blue is a good one.
I know.
Some good songs.
And to me, this is the one, man. It's like, I know the first 2 are real big and it's, Lucky Star and, Like a Virgin and all that. But this one, something about the pop tunes on here and the beats and say it's a little more electronic in terms of the background beats and stuff. I just love that one. And then last but not least, maybe the most common of all, little Beatles. And when I get to my Beatles trilogy, of course, I got to start with Rubber Soul. And yes, I can listen to Norwegian Wood like on repeat for hours.
Somebody
And then we got-
Wood. That's the best song on the record.
It's so good. And then the Revolver, of course. And these are the UK track listings on these. These are all Japanese pressings. So not the US butchered albums. And then we got to end on Sgt. Pepper's, which again, I know it's, taking the easy route, but man, just such a great album right here. And those are my trilogy of trilogies.
Cool. Nice.
All right. Who wants to go next? You want to go, Jay?
Well,
Or you want to go,
cheers.
Brandon?
Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, I have 2 left, so I'll do what you do. I'll just kind of show the ones that I have left.
Okay.
I think here's one where we talk about being common of common, and this is probably a really good one too, because I'm sure so many people would jump in so many different places. But Van Halen,
Yeah, awesome.
I mean, so many places you can jump in with them, right?
Oh, I know.
Definitely, yeah.
First 3
That's
records
cool,
of
man, with that Obi.
Yeah, but I'm going in with 84, 5150, which I don't care what anybody says. That's my favorite Van Halen album, song for song. And then, of course, OU 812.
Wow, nice.
So to me, that's a nice given one. And since this is my favorite band, of course, I have to show them Godsmack.
There he is.
There it is. Yeah, like, happy cheers. Godsmack. Love them to death. And I still cannot figure out for the life of me how this became my favorite band. I just I cannot do it. Like I'm the first one to say, outside of the drummer Shannon Larkin, who I think is absolutely amazing, it almost hurts me to say it, just some of the most average musicians you'll ever meet in your entire life. I mean, like Sully, the lead singer and writer, like he was a drummer that just almost in a fluke, someone just said, "Hey, why don't you try singing? Why don't you try being the front man?" And he just became a front man and started writing, and you know, they kind of blew up. But I think that's part of it with him being a drummer, and a lot of his writing is around kind of very rhythmic type of things. That's the thing that attracts me to Godsmack, is that it's these simple, gigantic walls of rhythmic sound. You know, that very new metal kind of thing, and it just it vibes with me right, and I absolutely love it. Actually, going to see them in about 3 weeks again. My like 17th time I've seen them.
Dang.
But yeah, this
And
is
that cover is so classic too. I love
it
that
is.
cover.
It's so cool. And this is probably definitely, I think, their best album song for song. And again, I think it's the simplicity of it. I mean, you put your guitar in drop D tuning and play rhythm guitar on probably 70% of those tracks with one finger. Like that's how simplified it is, but it's just awesome groove stuff. And then on Awake, again, their follow-up album after that, probably the one I listen to the most, even though I wouldn't say it's better than their self-titled, but the title track Awake is my favorite song by them. And the same thing, it's just that big rhythmic thing that they do. I absolutely love it. And probably their overall heaviest album, I would say, is this one here, which is Faceless. You know, big hits off of here were like Straight Out of Line, and yeah, I mean, just again, fantastic stuff. I still can't explain why I love this freaking band so much, but they are just, I just love them. I absolutely love them.
That's awesome.
So yeah, those are the last two. Since you stole my Depeche Mode, those are the last two trilogies I had.
I mean, I just caught a glimpse of that the gun again, the love gun back there, man. That's cool.
Yeah, Japanese person hadn't been perforated, which is nice.
Oh, cool.
Very nice. All right, who's next? You want to go now, Jay?
Sure, I can do that. I can show these. We'll do speed round. Super Drag, one of the best power pop bands in the 90s. This is their first record from 96. Regretfully Yours. I think people know Sucked Out if you were in the 90s. That was their big one-hit wonder. The whole album's actually fantastic. Like a cross between the Pixies and My Bloody Valentine. Like, so
whoa, that's a big ass statement right there. Okay.
it's yeah, if you only know the hit, but the other songs, fantastic. I mean, the whole record's great.
Oh, okay.
Was Sucked Out a radio hit?
Yes, it was.
Sucked Out. I have to listen.
I'm not going to sing it. I can't hit the high note. I can't do that. And then they followed it up with this other record, Head Trip in Every Key, where they went sort of baroque and psychedelic. As you can see, the cover is the girl. She's deeply into the music. And unfortunately, like this was not a hit. And then Elektra, their label, dropped them, whatever. And then they did the third record, which is called In the Valley of the Dying Stars, which is more, I would think like most people like this one, I think, but I think nostalgia is about the first record. But I think all three of these are just fantastic, really, to be honest. I was never into this one per se, but it grew, over time.
Yeah.
That's
man, I'm
cool.
glad you showed that. I got to go check that out.
Yeah, me too.
They're great. And then
Very cool band name.
Yes, Super Drag. And then we'll speed rounded. Procol Harum. I think this is the first progressive rock band, no matter what Jose or any other fools.
When is that shit from? When the fuck is that shit from? When did that record
this is
came out?
67, right?
So they got fucked because Wildflowers was 66.
In your dreams, okay.
But was it Prague, Jose?
Right. Yeah, it was.
So again, Procol Harum, Whiter Shade of Pale. This is the first record, like crazy kind of cover, like this lady, she's the tree in a way. And then 67, they followed up with Shine On Brightly. Now this is probably, I would consider the truest prog rock record.
Oh,
Heard that.
Wildflowers is on 64, so you get double fucked by that.
Oh my gosh, whatever. So I
Born
think
in
like, and if you
1960.
look at this cover, right, you can see all these like skeletons inside the piano, right? The snakes as
Ooh,
the foot
psychedelic.
pedals.
That's
You
not
know?
the U.S. cover, is it? No.
No, this is the original UK cover. The US would never put this out, right? They'd be scared to death. And then in 1969, they released the Salty Dog, right?
I had that
which-
one, Salty Dog. I had that album.
This is
Yeah,
probably
that's
like
a
one of my
great one.
favorite records right here.
It's so good.
Yep. There's nothing like it. Again, they have like a lot of sweets, musical movements in here, and this of course crazy cover. So you can see here.
Hey Jason, can you show that second cover again? I want to
Sure.
see what what keys on that piano were. Were those like
Yep.
crow's feet or something? What is it?
I think it's
Oh.
like
Sir, snakes.
snakes or birds' feet or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. Oh, thanks.
Those
It's
were-
fantastic
That's
cover.
wild.
Really cool.
That's awesome. Nice.
There we
Real
go.
good. That one, that's like, I think it looks like very much like a very famous artist. I can't remember is it Beardsley or something like that did that art, or no? They're, for the
cool
first,
thing
that's,
is, the cool thing is that the U.S. copy comes with a poster of this.
oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So
It's very much in the style. I want to say that's probably, and I wonder if I got the name right. Maybe someone knows. I'm pretty sure it's Beardsley. That's really cool. All right. Who's up? Who's up? Jose?
Yeah, I'll speed three bands or projects quickly. All right. So I have all of my records now over there, most of them. So I still have a lot here, but you know. Anyways, well, I'll go with basic bitch picks, but here's Brian Eno's first
Basic for Jose, that is.
well, this is like he's like the Bob Marley of ambient. So
Yeah.
you know, like
Who is it?
everybody- If you want to know one artist,
No.
it's Brian
You
Eno.
know.
Oh, Eno. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so this is Brian Eno's debut record. This is more like Roxy music, still very glammy, very pretty and weird and very English sounding record. There's some instrumentation here that you sort of think like, oh, like he actually likes the instrumentation way more than singing. So I'm like, I want to see where that leads in. And then the second record, Taking Tiger Mountain by Strategy, I think this record becomes a little more like, yeah, he's singing, he's doing all these things, but the instrumentation becomes way more complex. Again, it's reminiscent of Roxy music, a very flashy, very whatever you want to call it, but it's amazing.
Prague.
But then he releases, he does this, and this is the first record he actually starts implementing instrumental tracks and start doing his ambient music. So I think it's an interesting time. Brian Eno started doing a lot of different stuff, like the 801 record that I already showed. He also went to like New York and recorded a bunch of bands for that No New York. So he was experimenting with his own sound. And after this record, he basically started singing all together for most of his records throughout his career, except like maybe the last 10 years, he started like doing a little more singing. In the 90s, he did like one or two records that have like his voice. But it's a pretty interesting trilogy. Nobody mentioned this one, so I'm happy to do it myself. But Nick Drake, one of my favorite artists of all time. Legendary. After 5 years after this record, he died. 5 years left. Amazing. John Cale plays the viola in this record, but he never met him. Pretty interestingly enough. And then you have, the second record. I think it's better, although Cello Song is my favorite Nick Drake. And then you have Pink Moon. These are U.S. first. That is just a dumb fucking ratio that I have. But this is a pretty good one. I recommend it if you like folk music. And then, of course, you have to do Macy Star. Everybody. So this is the debut, which I think it's very pretty. A little more like very Americana, what people want to call Americana now. A little more into like, what do you want to call that? Like, I don't know, a little more westerny sounding, but it's a pretty good record. And then they released this that everybody knows, you know. And then my favorite Macy Star, and I think my wife's favorite. It's I'm on my Swan, which is the third record. They only have one more record after this, and unfortunately, the other member in the band he passed away, so I don't think there's going to be any more Macy Star ever again. But her Hope Sandoval solo stuff, it's pretty amazing. These reissues are very hard to get. I think this is like 150 in Discogs. I think he's pronouncing the band's name wrong. I don't give a fuck. But some people say Macy Star. Here in Spanish, we call it Macy, Macy Star. You can call him whatever the fuck you want. But I love him to death, and great music. Very mellow, a little more darky. You can sort of see their pattern in the records when you play them one after the next one, because they have like this weird song and then this sort of song that sounds like Fade Into You, like the same chord progressions and stuff like that. But I stand by them. I think it's one of the more beautiful songs from albums, trilogies from the 90s. It's 90, 93, 96. And I think they don't get as much love because everybody knows this record and that's all they want to hear. But I think the first one is very unique, and then this one is very pretty and unexpected. All right, that's my.
Hey, on that Swan, is that a pretty good sounding pressing for you?
Oh yeah. I have in the other room. I have an OG, and this one sounds better than at least my copy. It's a UK one that I have. This is my wife's favorite band, and she plays these records to death. So I've listened to them a lot. And
I was just kind of curious. I mean, I bought a brand new reissue of that when it came out, and
you have this one with the red sticker?
Yeah, and I can never get mine to sound like, no matter how many times I've ultrasonically cleaned it, it just always has a little too much pop to it. It bugs the crap out of me. So I don't know.
Mine is very clean. Mine is very, very clean. And this, well, you can sell it and buy like for maybe like $50 more. You can buy like an original one.
Yeah.
If that bothers, because right now this is like $150.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So all of them. This one's particular. I think it's sold for more than 200 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So this reissues. So get them. There are tip-on jackets. Very nice. Very pretty.
Yeah.
Looking reissues. So if you have them and you want the original ones, you could probably sell them and get an original one for like $50, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
But don't just stop in this one. And I think Fading to You, it's like not even the best song. Into Dusk, I would say it's way better. She's My Baby is also pretty great. But yeah, everybody just wants Fading to You, which is the first song. So people are like, all right, I'll listen to it. But Five String Serenade, beautiful. Bells Ring, beautiful. She's My Baby. And so Tonight That I May See, it's also pretty. But yeah, there's actually like her solo records are very nice. There's one that has never been reissued on vinyl, and one that haven't been reissued for like forever, that are like $300 or more. So hopefully they can start reissuing those.
Cool, cool. Man, you guys give me a big old list. I have definitely heard of Mazzy Star, but I don't think I've ever really listened to it. So I need to check that out.
Well,
Oh,
you know,
really?
right now, I would say that.
Unless I heard something and just didn't know it was,
Well, you've listened to "Fading to You," right?
Wasn't there?
I'd probably have to hear it.
I think it's even on like Marvel movies now. I think it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I mean,
song
I've
is
probably
like-
heard it.
but like female songwriter, pop, folk, rock music right now, I would say that it's one of the most. Opal. You know, my wife is such a fan that so Opal was the band before Massey Star started happening, and then the singer just basically like she got exhausted, she couldn't sing anymore, she got like booed off a show, and she was like, hey, I have this friend that might cover me up, and they already released the only record they ever had, and so Hope Sandoval started singing, and then she left. My wife is such a fan that she watches those bootlegs, like VHS recorded live shows, and she knows like, oh, this song sounded way better than that. I like a lot of bands like that, but it's just funny. Like my wife is like, what do you want to play? And she doesn't want to play like a record. She wants to play like YouTube and play like a bootleg of a show from like 87,
That's so awesome,
89,
dude.
89. I'm like, what the fuck?
She's got the bug.
I was gonna say, so that's why you married her. That makes sense.
Yeah. yeah. Well, yeah. But I hope they reissue it again because they're really pretty sounding records. I don't have any that sound bad, but so maybe it's just a case of like getting a bad pressing. But
Yeah.
you know. Bartok. Somebody said Bartok. All right.
Go ahead, Jose.
No, I
thought you were going to pull one out.
No,
I was
my
like,
classical is my classical is in the other. But I have a book, his autobiography that he wrote, like little stories and shit. It's pretty good. And I like George Burns. So, I like those.
Dave, you got anything else before we sign off?
I would say something to Jose real fast. Jose, Hope Sandoval sings lead on a Chemical Brothers album I have on one song.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she plays on a Glenn Campbell song that got released this year.
Chemical, well,
Yeah, Glenn Campbell.
Glenn
you know,
Campbell,
Rhinestone Cowboy. She sings in at least two Jesus and the Mary Chain songs because she used to date the singer or somebody from that band. And there's she sings in a lot of different bands and projects.
Yeah.
She has a song with Kurt Weill that's pretty great. Let Me Get There, it's called. It's pretty great. It's on their last.
I never heard of him, so
Kurt Weill. All right, it's pretty good indie.
Is it?
Yeah, pretty good indie. 2010s ish type era. If you like Midwestern indie, you might like that. The guitar work, it's brilliant. The singing is very specific, very nice. Actually, that Opal record is the only record she doesn't have because there's a lot of pressings of that record, but I always see it beat up or whatever, and I always want to buy it, but it's like one of those you have to buy from the UK, and it's like $35 for shipping, and you're like, oh shit. So I keep hoping I'm gonna see it at a show, and I'm just gonna buy it. It was her birthday yesterday, and I wanted to get it, but I couldn't. So maybe later on. I got it.
I got 3 Common albums again. I can't think. Aerosmith, Get Your Wings is a good one. The Trill. Yeah. Well, I found this one out.
Oh, yeah, very cool.
And of course, the next two. Toys in the Attic trilogy, good one. After that.
Is it Walk This Way in that one?
Yeah, it is. And Sweet Emotion.
Yeah, that's a good one.
When did that guy started singing different? Because I always hear that Dream On song, and it doesn't sound like him. And I don't know anything about
Steven
Aerosmith.
Tyler?
Yeah, like he sounds so different from in that song, like from anything else. So I'm always wonder like when he started singing weird because
Not
He's
sure.
singing weird. Jose, you can't even sing
He
at all
sings
now.
rock.
Come
he sings like he's so fucking horny all the whole time. I don't know. Chill, man. Chill. You're at the studio. There's no one else here. Just chill. You know?
And Aerosmith rocks 3 in a row.
I mean, singers that sing like that, man, eventually they got to chill out, right? I mean, same thing with
nice,
like
Yeah.
Robert
Eddie,
Plant, and it's like
wait,
you
Eddie,
can
you
only
wanna,
take so much of that.
Eddie, can I trade you that record for 2 Duck Duck records? Thanks. Let me know.
Duck, duck.
Oh, he has a first pressing on that record.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the Warm Inventions is pretty amazing thing. Yeah.
That's a good one, Dave.
Their Rocks is a good album too. I love them.
Yeah. I don't know if I should open this can of worms, but what I was thinking, I just looked at my notes here. Does anyone have any comments about Jane's addiction? Or does it matter? Does anyone care? Did anyone have tickets?
You know what I said in the chat, and I got annihilated, Jason. So.
Oh, really? What'd you say?
That was very bizarre.
You know what I said. You were there.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that Jane's Addiction are going to reunite again and open up for Oasis.
Are you serious?
No.
I was
going to say.
What?
But it sounds like the dream combo, right?
Oh, man.
You won't even get through the whole show, right?
The whole thing is
Fight,
just...
And then Oasis will come on. They'll fight. And then
They just need to have a cage match. Oasis and Jane's Addiction.
You will wait 2 hours, 3 hours for the show for 20 minutes of, actual fighting,
I think that Oasis will split up after the whole tour, but because money is better than glue, they'll do it the whole shebang.
Well, I heard that they have a new album in the can. It's ready. So it's all about, making that, bank,
Gotta promote that record. I
Well,
think it's funny, man. I was kind of thinking about it. I was sort of like, I mean, if you're going to commit to a tour and you have beef with other, or whatever, or you guys aren't best of friends and all of this stuff, who is in charge of being like, all right, guys, look, are you sure you can do this? Can we get through a tour? Because obviously they're seeing dollar signs, right? It's like they plan all the, let's book all these venues, let's sell all these tickets, let's get this money. And then, they can't continue the tour. Like, I think that, I get the whole, like, look, not everyone gets along. It's rock and roll. These bands fight. But on the other hand, it's like, you guys made a commitment to the tour, man. Like, don't take the money and run. And then you guys have beef and then it's, I don't know. That's kind of the way I feel about it.
I still haven't heard a single Jane's Addiction song, so I don't even know how they sound.
Not even been caught stealing?
Go from the
Where would I hear that? Like, I don't
Jane
know.
says
MTV.
I know who they are. I've seen the covers. The lady with the flames on.
There.
Ladies with that shit.
First or
I don't know a single song. I don't know if I've ever listened to one. But there's a lot of bands that I could say that. It's just I know it's not music for me, so I just like
don't listen.
Glide away.
But to your point, Jason, like you would think, especially something as big as Oasis, if you don't get along with someone, it's like, fine, we're going to have an extra bus. We'll deal with each other at sound check. We'll perform, and then I won't see your ass until the next sound check.
Yeah, you're on that side of the stage. I'm on this side of the stage.
Yes, like how hard can that be? I mean, excuse me. I know there's people in the world that I, had issues with or whatever else, but I cannot imagine me not being able to get along with them on stage performing for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't imagine being like that much of an obsessive dick where I don't have that much self-control.
Exactly.
That makes no sense to me at all.
Well, wasn't the argument that he was saying that Dave was drowning out his vocals or something? I mean, I imagine there's an engineer with a mixing table right in the center, back in the audience, that could just tweak a knob. I mean, it's like, why don't you just talk to that guy before the show? It's like, hey man, don't crank up Dave's guitars or whatever, I don't know.
Right.
But yeah. And the people that miss out are, the fans, right? People, especially someone that if it's a band that hasn't toured and now they're out there and it's like people are just like, man, I've wanted to see them my whole life. Now's my opportunity. You plan it. People travel to these things and stuff. They
Right.
buy their plane tickets. I don't know. Maybe I'm going overboard, but it just seems like, make it work. Make it, like you said, it's like, come on, you guys can get along for a few hours on stage. I mean, and then collect the paycheck at the end and, everyone's happy. Even if
Right.
it is just for the money, but it's like,
I think
Canceling a
I'm
tour.
more excited that The Cure is coming out with something new anyway. So screw Oasis.
Are the Cure?
Yeah,
Are they
Didn't
doing an
have a
album?
single that came out? What was it? Just a day or so ago? Something
Oh,
like
they
whoa,
put,
I didn't know that.
They put up a sign outside of the first bar they ever played at in 78 or 77 in the UK. They only put one flyer saying like they were going to release a record.
Interesting.
That'll be nice.
I mean, if Oasis recorded a new record, great. Can you imagine the trolling if they only sing that record? If they were only gonna play that first, like that new record,
Oh,
that'll be amazing trolling if they did that.
yeah. Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah, here's the new Cure record. It's either a moon rock or an age-old poop.
It looks
that
like
what-
a baby from Eraserhead.
Maybe from race.
Baby from Eraserhead.
Has anyone heard it? Is it good?
Or
No,
one
I've heard like
song.
a few seconds of it. It sounds pretty good. I mean, it sounds like The Cure, so
Right.
that's good.
So it just sounds like everybody's going to the party. Like that.
Have you ever heard The Cure, Jose, either? I mean,
Yeah, I'm on the Cure record. No, like I like the Cure, but it has absolutely nothing to do with Jane's Addiction. So
True.
right, okay.
Yeah, I definitely
You got to start with Jane's Addiction, then you move on to Porno for Pyros, and then you move on to Perry
I don't know anything
Farrell's solo
about
stuff.
I don't know anything. I know about Bowling for Soup. So if you want to talk about that, maybe I can talk a little bit about Bowling for Soup.
Bowling
Cake,
for
I was going
Soup.
to show my cake records, if that's a thing. Showing cake records.
Okay, I actually like that. I like cake.
I've never understood Cake.
I got those CDs anyway.
It's just a band that you like, and you keep remembering you like them,
I don't have them on vinyl, unfortunately, but
and that's it. It's
Comfort
just a
Eagle,
band.
yeah, I got that one CD too.
I used to be very young, and I used to play this record when I used to play Manhunt on the PC when I was young. And this one, goats, sheep go to heaven, goats go to hell.
Oh yeah,
So nostalgic music. I don't actually play them a lot, but very nostalgic music.
Yeah.
So if you talk about 90s stuff in the US, because UK it's other bands, but in the US this and like late 90s Beck stuff,
Yep, I remember Beck and Cake. Yeah,
I once put Going the Distance on Jukebox 30 times.
he left
Nice.
it.
And then left immediately. That's great.
Yeah,
Nice. Actually, I would say, like, funny enough, this is a bootleg, a yellow pressing,
yeah.
and I got the original one, and then I got the reissue, and this sounds better than both of them. It's the first time that I ever heard a bootleg sounding better than the original one. And
Oh, no kidding? Whoa.
yeah, because it's a CD era band,
Yeah.
so like fucking it up, we took drugs. Well, I used to do acid and listen to Cake, so I don't know. That was definitely not a good trip, but I'm 29, so when I was dropping acid, I was like Radiohead-ish or Soft Machine or Spaceman 3, My Bloody Valentine. Definitely not. Well, for like 1 year, I was a Pearl Jam fan for like 1 year. And
A
then
what? Oh, Pearl Jam, you said?
Yeah, for 1 year, I was like, all right, I'll listen to Pearl Jam. And then I was like, oh, what is this shit? I don't want. And then I stopped listening to grunge, the so-called grunge movement. Because every single band in the grunge genre, like we talked about last time, they
Why
all
do you
sound
put it in
different.
quotes?
It's a bullshit name for a non-existent genre. Because Nirvana doesn't sound anything like Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam doesn't sound anything like Soundgarden.
Soundgarden.
Soundgarden doesn't sound anything like Mother Love Bone. Mother Love Bone doesn't sound anything like Temple of the Dog. So like I like Temple of the Dog, for example. I think it's a great record. Hunger Strike, I think it's great. Amazing little, ditty, but it has nothing to do with Soundgarden. It has nothing to do with Nirvana. So when people say I like grunge, I'm always like, what do you like? Because if you say I like grunge and you're like Nirvana, but like Pearl Jam is my favorite band, I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, all right, because you can like Pearl Jam, but it doesn't mean you like grunge. Or you can like Nirvana. It doesn't mean you like, I don't know what else. It's
Stone
considered
Temple Pilots.
Oh, that's right.
Stun Temple Pilots. Like that's nothing alike. It's a weird genre for it to name. It's like shoegaze. It's more like a noisy background, at least for shoegaze. But grunge, it's sort of like the glue that sticks them together. It was basically everybody knew each other in the 90s in Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle.
That's it. But sound-wise, I don't get it. Yeah, definitely not a good trip with acid and cake, Eddie. Definitely not. All right. That's my rent. That's my 90s rent for the day.
From the guy that hates Foo Fighters too, man.
Oh, the worst. No,
man. How, dude? How?
Oh. And you know why? It's like you hear Nirvana, and you hear Pat Smear, and you hear all the bands he was at. You can even hear Dave Grohl's bands before Nirvana, and they're all like nice. And then you're like, everybody's going to. What is this? What is this? Yeah. What is like Tom Petty on Downers? Like what is it? I don't need to hear that. It's like, and every time somebody's like, oh yeah, they're so rock and roll, and I hear that Highway record, whatever the name of the record is, I'm like, man, this record is like below.
I like the first two records, man. I think they're really, really good, and I think
Right,
they're
what do you
unique
agree
and
they're not
musical.
grunge?
And
What do you say? They're not grunge?
I wouldn't say they're grunge. No.
Yeah, definitely not.
Green River is
I'm
pretty-
very much a hits guy when it comes to the Foo Fighters. Like the songs I like, then I can totally drop the rest of their catalog off the face of the earth. Wouldn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always say, like the only song that I actually like about Foo Fighters is Wheels, which is a song that was featured on the Greatest Hits record, that it's not even a Greatest Hits song, which is like added to the thing.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Yeah, but I don't mind the members. They all look like nice people. And Dave Grohl has like 90 kids instead of marriage, so
We just you know what? I think next time we're gonna do like a smash or pass, and we'll do it with Jose, and we'll just do boom, yes or no, hot or not. You know what I mean?
You don't have to do that.
Because I gotta figure Jose out, man. I gotta know.
I just don't take anybody else's take on anything too hard. I like going without any nostalgia or whatever into a record, because I know when I listen to a record that I like out of pure nostalgia, like Cake, they're like a piece of shit band, but I love them. It's nostalgia, right? You know what I mean? It's just like, what did I see here that I was like, oh my god, why do I have that? Oh, it's this. Look, one of my favorite bands when I was a kid was this. I'm 100% ashamed of saying it.
Oh, Bloodhound.
Wow. On Yellow Piss Vinyl.
I only know one song by that band, actually.
You don't know a single? No, you
I know
know.
The Bad Touch is about the only one I know. Bad Touch.
Yeah, the Bad Touch. Yeah. Well, Fire, Burn, motherfucker. That's pretty good. Why is everybody picking on me? I wish I was gay so I can get chicks.
Oh,
Oh, fucked up piece of shit record. But uh, again, it's just there's some records that just appeal to me more. I would say that "Yield" by Pearl Jam is probably the only record that I like from Pearl Jam, like completely.
Mhm.
It's very mellow. Backspacer, I think, is pretty good. Binaural has some good songs. Um, but I don't know. I don't get excited about it. I don't.
No problem. No problem. We all like.
I prefer to give you my honest opinion, and even from the bands that I really like, I can tell you what I hate about them just as much as why I like them. It's like Brian Eno. If I show Brian Eno to people that like experimental music, they look at me like I don't know anything. If you go to
Brian Eno.
experimental music lovers and you say I like Brian Eno, they're like, "Hey, nice."
yeah.
It's good.
Of course
It's
you
like-
do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like going to oh, I love reggae, right? And then you're like, oh yeah, I love Bob Marley. People are like, yeah, nice, yeah.
See, that's my whole life, dude. It's like my band. I don't go overly. I don't go out of my way to like seek out like the esoteric.
Oh, you
like,
have to. You have
when
to.
I was younger, yes, I had to go deep. I wanted to find stuff that no one else had ever heard of. But now that I'm old, I just go back to that stuff that I've always loved, and that's why I'm over here showing
but you
MJ and
Look, but it'll make you love music more if you're like, oh, I like Prince. All right, so what else did Prince? Oh, he
yeah.
this
I've got
movie.
yeah.
And I think it just adds more to the love you have. Again, when the first time I listened to Pearl Jam, I was like, all right, I like that Yield record. And then I heard the soundtrack he made for what is it? Into the Wild. And then he immediately, when I discovered Eddie Vedder, again, I'm younger. He released that ukulele song record that I think it's actually pretty good. And then I heard the soundtrack he did for Dead Man Walking. I think it's amazing soundtrack. So I was like, Pearl Jam, too much, whatever going on. And then I listened to Soundgarden. I thought that was more interesting. But then I listened to Temple of the Dog, and I was like, oh, this is way better than Soundgarden. And then Mudhoney, I thought it was, hey, was way better than any band. And then I listened to, Nirvana, and it was like, well, this shit is, it just tops whatever this other crap that people putting together as a genre. And then it's like, oh, their best record is the MTV Unplugged. All right. And then what, it goes like that. That's how my brain works, REM, 2 MTV Unplugged. Oh, it's nice. Blah, blah, blah,
REM's one where I could never get into them. I liked It's the End of the World as We Know It, and then that's kind of where it started and stopped for me.
Really?
Yeah, Ted is pretty good.
For whatever reason. I mean, they have some good stuff, but I've just never liked them enough to feel like I had to buy their records and stuff.
Monster album.
What
REM Monster.
REM.
Oh no, REM has good records.
I have the CD.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
REM. I would say that to this point, I think REM it's mostly considered a greatest hits band, but I'll say that every single record is freaking good. I don't listen to them that much, but if I have to put some records by them, I enjoy them, and I think that greatest hit record is really good. Like if you go by the greatest hits type of band, I think that's one of the most fun and entertaining ones. Sort of like the Pixies.
Now the Pixies, I love the Pixies.
Yeah, the Pixies are weird because
I used to have that Monster on vinyl, Jason, too.
in my head the Pixies.
all right, I'm gonna check out Monster. I promise.
Yeah, you should check that one.
I probably heard. I mean, if it's the hits, I probably heard a lot of stuff on there. But yeah,
There's
the thing always that intrigues me the most, especially like with guys like you who are so musically knowledgeable and all of that. The thing that I love is when there's some band that seems so common to me, and I hear like one of you say, "Oh, I never really heard of them," or "I never really heard of that." Like something about that just intrigues the hell out of me. Like, that is so cool. Like That
Well, that was
long
the records you were
band?
when we played Just a Tip like a month ago, man. It was like you were pulling out records. I was like, dude, I've never even seen that.
Well, again, I'm from outside the U.S., so my like if I could only show records in Spanish for 2 hours, I would, but it doesn't really play out like that, right? But yeah, there's a lot of bands that just because I remember like Dream Theater, right? Everybody was talking about Dream Theater when I was a kid. I was like, oh, you have to listen to Dream Theater. And then I listened to them. I was like, what the fuck is this shit? Boring as fuck. All the singers sound like absolute ass. Playing is on point, but no soul to them. And then I was like, oh, Liquid Tension Experiment. That was better. And a little bit better without the singing. So it's just when people overhype something to me.
Yeah.
Metallica, when Metallica was overhyped to me,
Oh, yeah.
I heard Right the Lightning. I was like, all right, that's fucking cool. I heard the first record. I was like, Hit the Lights, Whiplash. I thought Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. I thought it was like great songs, great record. Master of Puppets, good. And then Unjustice for All, and then the Black Album, Load, Reload. What the fuck are those records? Oh, horror Garage Days, a bunch of covers of like
Great hard rock record.
I really don't like. Tuesday's Gone's pretty good, I guess. Whiskey on the Jar is pretty like whatever. But I started avoiding a lot of bands people told me to listen to because the people who were telling me to listen to most of the times really didn't know my music taste, With the same
it's easy to have to form an opinion before you even hear something because of that very thing. And then a lot time goes by and then you've built it up and you've built it up. And then when you hear it, no matter how good it is, you're like, oh yeah, this is not good.
Well, but no. But what happens to me also is like, for example, like you were saying, like you say that you only go back to those records you've already.
I mean, not only, but yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like, as you grow older, it becomes less appealing to listen to new music, right? Or maybe just like go through a certain like genre or whatever, which is fine. But for example, if somebody tells me, oh, this is more like Ween or Beck, I'm like, all right, I'll go to listen to it. But if somebody tells me, oh, this is like straight up rock and roll, man, I'm like, what the fuck? I don't want to listen to that. Because I think it's like when you're young and you listen to those, because you were probably the same age I was when I first heard Nirvana. You're probably like 13, 14. So when I was 14, 13, I heard those bands. They were already, Kurt Cobain was like rusted at that point. But like I heard same age range. And with the perspective of all the discography already out, I sort of like already could tell like if I'm gonna like it or not. And again, it's
and then a lot of the music that's happened since then too, you probably heard already. And so you're coming at it from a place where it's not fresh and new, right? It's not a new thing in the world.
It's like they already influenced bands that even already probably ended.
Right.
Like the first time I listened to Alice in Chains was the MTV Unplugged, and I was like, oh, that's nice, But I didn't listen to like the records. And when I listened to the records, I was like, I like the live ones, the live versions more. So it's stuff like that, It fucks you up how you listen to a band sometimes, the order that you go into, and it happens, Even you can even go to the dumb section of the world, like, oh, Shrek, oh, it's Hallelujah, oh, who wrote that? Leonard Cohen. Oh, who covered that? Rufus Wainwright, right? And then, but whose version is it that everybody knows? Oh, it's the Jeff Buckley version of John Cale's version of the of the other song, right? And of the original one. So it's like you make all these points, and then you sort of like, oh, there's whatever, right? So the way I make my lines makes me want to listen to a band, and if they're outside of that line, I don't know if I can get into more grunge era bands now. You know, like you probably wouldn't want to listen to like a new Delta blues inspired rocker from Detroit. I'd be like, oh fuck, I don't want to listen to that shit. You know, because
Well,
you're like, exactly. You're like, I'll listen to what I already know, probably.
Yeah.
But
I just always had a very simple rule of there's two things that'll make me bring an album into my collection, and it's something that has a melody that I want to hear again, or made me feel an emotion I want to feel again. If
point.
one of those two things happens, I don't care where it comes from. I don't care what it's about. It's like that's a piece I want to have at my fingertips to experience again.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a
That's
good
why-
way to say it.
that's why I think that every so often pulling records from your collection and selling them, it's healthy as fuck. Because that way you can pull in more records you actually like, or give the opportunity to new music, and then sell those records 6 months, a year later that you didn't actually like.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, but
Well,
try
like how
out
many?
music.
And learn to take pleasure in like experiencing music that you don't like.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I think like having that whole goal of finding stuff that I like. It's like I think it's kind of cool sometimes to listen to an album. Someone says, "Hey, check this out," or your buddy or whatever, and you're like, that kind of sucked. I didn't really dig that. But I was in my musical world going through an experience, and that experience sucked, and this one was great. And it's like take joy in the whole process.
I think that goes back too to just how personal music is, and just how music is tied into like memory.
Yeah.
Is that I know there's stuff like there's no way I'm going to convince Jose that Journey is a great band, right?
Yeah.
There's no
But-
way. No fucking way.
But
No way.
if you were a kid growing up in the 70s and the 80s, playing your Atari, and that stuff was just on. That's the thing too now that I think we don't get as much is like, well, maybe some people do, but like when I grew up, it was like the radio was always on. We had MTV. And so that stuff was just flooding into your head when you were a very impressionable age. And so all those young memories, the good memories that I have for me at least, about my childhood, I can always go to a song. And if
Right.
I have a song, I can go to a Journey song, I can say, yes, this was happening in my life in that moment and relive it. And so it's like, not just Journey. I can say the same thing about Grateful Dead and Fleetwood Mac and all that stuff, because that was the stuff that was like the backdrop to my life when I was young.
Right.
But I can't tell someone it's beyond criticism for me. Like it's in my DNA. Just like same with everyone in this dais, right? And probably everyone in chat. It's very difficult to take something that's that personal to you and say, oh, Jose, go listen to Journey Escape and come back. You're going to love it. It's like you have a completely different set of circumstances going into it.
Right.
The same way that I had was completely different. You know what I mean? So that's the thing about music. And like you said too, Brandon, is like you have someone that comes to you and says, go listen to this record. And you're like, this is crap. But for them, it's probably tied into these memories and experiences and stuff that it's like, it just becomes part of your DNA. Like it's difficult sometimes to even share music because it's just so personal.
Yeah.
Right. And have you ever had an experience too, like one of the things that I'll find myself doing as well is like feeling like I can be very open to, putting my tentacles into a band or a song and getting an understanding. If there's some band that is really, really kind of sweeping and so many people are really into it and it's such a big deal, oftentimes my first thought process is like, what am I missing that everyone else is seeing?
Mm.
It almost becomes somewhat of not a game, but just kind of this thing where you're kind of experimenting in yourself to think, I want to get an understanding of why this is touching people. And so I'll try to listen to it and I may try to engage in it more. And it still may get to the point where I'm just like, this is crap. Like the Beatles' White Album, for example. That's probably a perfect example. And as big and as legendary as that album is, I've listened to it so many times trying to get it and understand it. And I just don't. I have no idea why that album is on the level that it's at. But I've spent a lot of time trying to take it in. That's still a fun part of trying to experience music and experience something that you don't just get. Because maybe I'm missing something sometimes that could click inside of me and open up a new world where yes, when I was in college, I hated White Zombie. Thought it was pure noise, couldn't stand it. One of my favorite metal bands now.
White Zombie. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, so what happened inside of there that I was willing to keep that peg open, if you will, and one day it clicked, and it's like, oh, I freaking get this. One of my favorite bands now.
What band was it?
White Zombie.
White Zombie.
Oh, I like White Zombie. I like
Rob Zombie went solo.
Rob
I
Zombie.
hated him in
I was,
college.
you know,
Hated
I
him.
would say that the cool thing about Rob Zombie was that he got me into a lot of horror movies that I.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So I grew up thinking House of a Thousand Corpses is
I started
amazing,
that movie.
and then I hear people talking shit about it. I'm like, well, why? Like, it's a good movie. It's very, for the budget it had. It's reminiscent of a lot of horror movies, yes, but it's a, you know, that's what a lot of directors in the 90s used to do a lot. Like,
Yeah. That was good.
But so I like it. I've never seen Rob Zombie because the 2 times he's tried to play here, he hasn't sold enough, and they canceled the shows.
Really?
I saw him at Ozfest, man. It was so cool.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, he's great. I've seen him a couple times.
Yeah, but I would say that most of the bands that I say I really don't like, I've tried listening to at least once. That's why I say I haven't listened to Jane's Addiction, because I'm not telling you I don't like them. I'm just telling you I don't know them.
Right.
You know, but I do retain my knowledge of when I heard Pearl Jam and when I heard all these other bands, because I actually tried to get into them, but the substance was, because like I've said in this show before, and I've said it to a lot of people here privately, my problem with metal when I was a kid, I really liked metal, but the problem I had with metal was that every single time a band was trying to do something different, or put a piano or strings or whatever, everybody was like, oh, they sold out, they sell outs, they fucking suck shit, I don't like the record, blah blah blah. And I'm like, why? If I think metal is one of the genres that are the least comfortable with musicians being musicians. They just like repeating the same formula. And I hate that. I absolutely hate that, because a musician should be able to do whatever the fuck they want with their name, their music, their songwriting skills. And I think most of the time with metal, a lot of metal people are just write the same song 90 times and they're okay with it. But those bands that were like in the 80s, they were okay for have synths and blah, blah, blah. But bands in the 90s and 2000 metal, and they put like a piano, oh, that was like horrible. Everybody was like, because everybody thought it was going to be like the Cinderella story, right? Like their ballad is going to be the most popular.
Yeah. Hey, just cut their hair. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Like the hair,
good.
the hair, your race, everything has to do with metal. It's like a big no-no. Like, like, look at this Brazilian band, Sepultura, right? It's like the only metal band that people know from outside of the US or the UK or, you know, Scandinavia. So I think sometimes it's a genre that I'm a little bored by it, because most of the time it's just people don't want to experiment anything new inside the genre. So that's something can be said for prog bands. Yeah, fuck prog music. That's what I'm saying. That's the reason I came to the conclusion that I don't like prog music, because every single time they do something different. But if you go to Canterbury Prog, all the music is very different from one another. If you go to Black Sabbath, they have choirs, acoustic guitars, ballads, songs about politics, right? War pigs, songs about loving weed. And so they have a little bit about everything, and I actually enjoy that way more than just having the same songs recycled every time. Even Judas Priest, they have like ballads. They have the name comes from a Bob Dylan song. They have John Baez cover. So stuff like that. I think it's like, it's just, I just think that it's just changing styles over time, new style.
Yeah, it's kind of so weird with metal that you have to get so big to even earn the permission to do something a little bit out of whack. Because like I said, if you're
Mm.
not a Metallica or a Priest, you can't go screwing around with doing the type of stuff that they did.
No. And I think that metal is one of those genres that you have to make it like huge to be like a normal sounding name, because it's one of the least amount of genres that have. It's one of the genres that have most amount of bands in the world playing that type of genre, metal. Every state has like thousands and thousands of bands playing metal, but none of them record, or they just self-release a CD, or like the amount of CDs. But no one, I never hear people like, oh, this is a hidden gem. Never. It's always the same. Judas Priest and Sodom might be like the most underground metal band that people like to talk about. Sodom and I don't know, but it's those type of genres that you don't hear people talking about anything but Dio, Black Sabbath, Metallica, Megadeth, or Slayer.
Popular selling ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So stuff like that. So for me, sometimes that's why I got really bored really quick, because I thought even new metal, I thought it was like way more interesting than normal metal. I was like, Deftones, all right, interesting. I like Korn when I was a kid, so it's like
Godsmack.
yeah, I know. Typo Negative. I don't know if anybody here like Typo Negative, but that sort of stuff was like at least way more wanted to be something different and get this like second wave of industrial music into metal and like merge it and but then you have like bands like Mudvayne. I fucking hated that band. So I took with a grain of salt everything. That's what at least that's what I'm trying to say. It's like
Well, I like what Vinyl Dreamscape says, because it really kind of gets to the heart of it. Hopefully, it's not just nostalgia that makes us like music. I like to think that my interest or taste can change and expand.
Big time.
I think
me too. But it's
interesting. Well, it kind of goes back to like, when I'm talking about like how emotional music is for me and just how it really wrapped up in memories and all those things like that. Obviously, you're creating memories throughout the entire life. And so, yeah, I still hear stuff that I enjoy, and it was going to be a question that I was going to ask. I think we could do a whole show on it, which is like, as a music listener, are you someone that's more emotionally kind of tied into music, or are you more like objective? Like, are you saying to yourself, okay, that guitar riff, and then with these drums and the vocals, and it's balanced, and where it's almost academic in a way, where you say like, okay, and I guess that's maybe an extreme. I don't mean like academic, but I don't know but does that make sense, where you could say like, yes, this band is just great objectively, whereas like my relationship I just use Journey as an example. With Jose, it's very subjective, right? It's very much tied to my own memories and my own history and all that stuff.
No, that's what I was saying. It's not connected to anything from mine. What I'm saying is like
it's either good or bad to you. It's not.
No, it's not. It's more like it's worthy of my research or not.
Okay.
Like, I would say like 99% of the records I own are more like from like researching things, if that makes any sense. Like again, you start with Pink Floyd, and then you're like, oh, what else did Sid Barrett do? And you're like, oh, he had a solo song with this artist named Kevin Ayers. Oh, what is that? It's Soft Machine. Oh, Soft Machine. The singer sings in the first debut by Nick Mason. Oh, he has this. He wrote the music for that vegan movie called The Farm. And then who else did music for that vegan movie? David Byrne. Oh, he has a band called Talking Heads. Oh,
right.
Who produced it? It's Brian Eno. Oh, blah blah blah. So that's how my
that was good, dude.
Yeah. That's how my brain works. So it's more exploratory. So if in that line I get 10 records out of that line, I'm going to stick with the one that I like most. But I'm not gonna dismiss the whole other records. I'm gonna be like, if I like this record, I'm gonna like it. Like David Byrne, I'm probably one of the only motherfuckers out there that likes that salsa cumbia shit he was doing with like Celia Cruz, and he recorded a song with Selena, and so there's that genre of music nobody else talks about. There's a record called from David Byrne, has Snoopy with a bunch of angels. That's one of my favorite covers of all time. Nobody talks about that record, and I think it's underrated. But that's so I wouldn't say mine is nostalgic at all. It's more like exploratory.
Hmm.
I'm 100% good with throwing artists I like under the bus if something else catches my eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier about the two things with the melody or the emotion. For me, it is 100% about the goosebumps and the hairs on the back of my neck. Like anything that makes that move, I don't care what it is. Like I can say to this, I mean, almost like I was saying, Godsmack being my favorite band. At the same time, I'm sitting there talking about how they're the most mediocre musicians in the world. So technically
Right.
I'm not putting anything together there, but it's like when they get together and do what they do, I freaking feel it. And I don't need to explain that. I don't need to, it's just, it does what it does. If I go grab my Michael Bolton Gold record, greatest hits, I don't like, who cares about Michael Bolton? But when I hear him sing "Said I Love You But I Lied," I feel it's like, I don't know what I'm feeling here, but the dude is moving me.
Right.
He's in the collection.
Yeah.
And that's what it really comes down to, that one simple thing. Give me a goosebump and you're in my collection, period.
And I will add also that I do that with movies as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's a good point. I was going to say that. Yeah.
As a curious kid, the fact that I was growing up and somebody told me, "Oh, do you know that there's From Dusk Till Dawn 3?" I was like, "Oh shit!" It's like, to me,
horrible, but it was nice.
Yeah, because I remember as a kid, even with like Disney movies, there's like Pocahontas 2, which is a horrible movie about how they took this indigenous woman and took it to the New World and try to give her manners. Why the fuck does that shit exist? Anyways, and then you have Little Mermaid 2 or 3, so like Lion King 2 and the whatever. So I've always had on my DNA go out of my way and watch stuff like that. Again, Lost Boys. Jason, you like Lost Boys. Have you ever seen the second one, the third one, whatever the fourth one is?
No.
Just the first one is on.
No, they're horrible, but it's like, it's interesting. It's interesting that they exist. One of my favorite movies is Scanners.
Yeah.
There's Scanners 2, 3, and there's Scanners Cop 1 and Scanners Cop 2.
I've only seen the first Scanners.
So are you?
Like, who the fuck will watch those? Psycho 2. Psycho 2, in my eyes, it's way better than
Psycho 2. Yeah.
Well, are you saying like you're more open to exploring that stuff because you like the first one?
Not necessarily. For example, like Psycho 1, I don't really care about much. It's just like the big reveal, and then there's a plot twist. And then you see the second one, and you were like, "Oh wow!" It's like Perkins is back, and this, like, was he insane? Was he not? And it's amazing.
See, but like with me, I can appreciate the first one because it's Hitchcock, and I'm such a fan of him, and I'm sort of like, I look at how it's directed, I look at how it's framed, I look at the acting, you know what I mean, and stuff.
Yeah, but so I'm more intrigued to the fact that now I know, as a growing up, that most of these movies were probably made because people wanted to just make money.
Yeah,
basically, right? Mm-hmm. But there are some great hidden gems. For example, Exorcist 3, I think it's better than the first one. I know that's
Exorcist 3 was good. Yeah, I've seen that.
The third one is like a detective. There's no blood on it.
Scott was in that.
Yeah, it's an amazing movie. The soundtrack is pretty good. The same guy that did the Warrior soundtrack. It was directed by the guy who wrote the script and the book that the Exorcist is based on. So stuff like that. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, even Next Generation, everybody hates. I think it's like nice. So I think it's in my DNA always. Space Odyssey, 2010. I don't think it's a bad movie, And there's the books. There's the trilogy, the year 3000. I think it's the last one. So stuff like that. I appreciated watching like Solaris, the Russian version of like response to 2001. Tarkovsky, great director.
I want to see that. That's supposed to be good. It's a book too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like Friday movies, right? Or there's like 1, 2, 3. Is there more? I think so.
That kind of reminds me of something I did about 6 or 7 years ago, where like I talked about my background earlier, and one of the things I decided was like there's all of these movies that you hear mentioned all the time, whether it's like Citizen Kane or
Gone with the Wind,
Sound of Music, and all of that. And I just went through like a year of getting all of those movies and just watching them. Like, okay, like what in the hell is this Gone with the Wind? Like, I've never seen this in my entire life. I'm going to sit down and watch it. A fair to remember. And I watched all of those things, and even though most of them were like, it was just kind of something cool about experiencing these. Okay, these are the classics everyone's talking about.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I think most of the people either you had to watch it when it came out, or it had to do something in you. You know, it's the same with music. Again, if somebody that's my age has never heard Jane's Addiction, will probably be like, well, what does it sound like? And they give you all these cues, and you're like, already went through those, and I don't listen to that anymore. So maybe I won't listen to, because I might not like it, you know. So again,
I just like binge watched 4 Alien movies because I wanted to see, even though I know you hated it, Jose. I want to see the newest one.
I didn't hate it. I just thought it was very
pretty cool. It's worth
to see. Okay. So yeah, I watched Alien. Okay, so here's my big one. I watched Alien, which of course I've seen many times. Love that movie. You know, that was the one that came out when I was a kid. And then I watched Aliens again. That's the controversial one because a lot of people put Aliens first. Aliens is the best. It's this and that. So I watched them back to back. I watched Alien and Aliens.
I think it is.
I couldn't remember Aliens going into it. I was like, have I seen this? And as it's progressing, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen it. Oh yeah, a scene will happen. Oh yeah, I've seen it. Dude, I think Alien is so much better than Aliens.
Really?
Yes, I'm just like, ugh.
Me too. It's the ambience. It's like the darky, what's going to happen. It literally it's just like Halloween.
It's the way the movie's structured. It's the way things get revealed, the plot progression. Whereas when I see everything you're saying, Jose, and more, but then when I watch Aliens, I was like, it just seems like fodder for, you know, it's just, let's just show 100 aliens, let's blow them up, and the way they get from plot point to plot point, I felt like it wasn't really sophisticated. Like the way we get Ripley to this, you know, into this mess, and every little thing, adding the girl, the way the girl gets the watch and all this, I was like, come on, the way they're moving the plot, it just felt to me. So I was just like, but anyway.
I mean, I've always thought Aliens was better, but what you said, that does make sense.
Yeah, and I can see like movies aren't just about that, right? I mean, it's just because something has a better plot doesn't mean it's a better movie. But for me, I connected with the first one more. But yeah, there's other movies where I could say, like Jose saying, maybe there's 3 or 4 different ones, and I watch one, and that's my favorite for whatever reason. I don't have to defend it. The plot's terrible. I don't care. The acting's terrible. I don't care. I just like it more. You know what I mean? So,
Jaws 2 is actually a good movie, but it's just basically the first one. It's still John Williams making the soundtrack. I think if people haven't watched the second one, it's a little more of the first one. It's a little repetitive, but I think it's pretty good. The soundtrack is pretty good. It's like, look, I like Godfather 3. I think it's a great movie. I actually love Alien 3 because it's like they don't have any weapons. How are they going to kill this one alien that's like here? The ending is sort of crap, but I actually like Alien 3. I think it's good. Prometheus, I think it's great.
Prometheus,
Weekend at Bernie's 2.
I
think it's pretty good.
Sorry, Jay. I feel bad for Jay. I know he bounced and everything. So
But the Weekend at Bernie's 2, Caddyshack 2 is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. But I saw it, you know. I feel comfortable with saying that I like it's one of my favorite movies is what's the name in English? The Birdcage. You know that movie, Birdcage?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's a good movie.
Robbie Williams.
Bill Williams and what's
Yeah.
his name?
The other guy from the producers.
Yeah.
The Mousetrap. Well,
Oh,
that
Mousetrap.
movie, there's a French version, which is the original one, and that one
Fast and
has
Furious 8,736.
Is that it? I thought they were
Oh,
higher than that.
right. Fast and Furious 10, the last one. I went to see it with my wife at the movie theater. We were laughing so hard. You have no idea how hard. I had such a great time. The whole time I was laughing so loud. And on the end of the movie, I started noticing that no one else was laughing. Everybody was like, actually, like the cars are like flying, right? And
I know.
they're outside of a plane, and they land so comfortably on the pavement. You can see the shot where the car like
I have to see that.
fucking
They got so ridiculous. The first one where they were just racing, and then all of a sudden there was like three
they're
stooges.
agents.
It's just-
How the fuck are they agents? How the fuck are they agents?
I know.
Wait,
I'd only seen.
Well, which one was the one where the cars crashed and he dove off the car and caught her in midair around the bridge and they rolled and like
I think
stood
it's the
up?
ninth one. I think it's the ninth one.
Hell, just
Yeah.
did somebody cut this film wrong?
Yeah, and he just says, "I had faith," and you're like, "What the fuck?"
Well, here's a question for you, Jose.
Crazy.
What do you like Star Wars at all? Any Star Wars movies?
Yeah, but I'm a Star Trek guy.
You're a Star Trek guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was curious.
I like the what it's now known as the fourth, fifth, and sixth one.
Oh, okay.
And I think the best Star Wars movie ever is Rogue One. But that's
a great one. Yeah.
That's just me. Yeah. All right. But go
Oh,
ahead.
so you like the original trilogy then? The first three that got made: Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi.
The first one, I went to see it. I went to see it on the movies theater. The first one. The second one is just a soap opera. Nothing happens in the second one.
That's kind
The
of true.
third one is whatever. In the end, it's nice.
You got the Ewoks.
Yeah. But then you have the new trilogy, and it's just, why does every new movie or like sequel to like these already huge success, all the old characters, their life was shit. They were all like on the verge of dying. Nobody did anything. Like Han Solo was just like, yeah, it was like depression, the whole shit ever.
Yeah, man.
That's something I really hated. This legacy sequels, the Halloween one, I like the 2018. The other ones were like, eh. The worst offender.
Halloween thing.
Oh, I love Halloween.
Never.
The fourth
None of
one,
those
the third
movies.
and the fourth one are my favorite one.
I cannot get into those things.
The original Halloween's the best, I think. 78.
Well, that's debatable.
Oh yeah.
My favorite is the fourth one, and the third one was nothing to do with the. You should watch.
The
You
fourth.
should watch the third one on
Season of
Halloween.
the
That's
Witch.
one of the best Halloween movies. It has
Season of the
nothing to
Witch,
do with
right?
Michael Myers. Nothing to do with anything
I've
except
seen that one. Yeah, I've seen that one.
with the masks. The
I've seen it. It's a good one.
Halloween. That's the Halloween 3 season of the witch.
Yeah.
The best Halloween movie, like the season of Halloween to watch, in my opinion.
That's a good horror movie. Yeah.
Because when it comes to the
Nothing
fourth,
to do
I'm
with the
like,
other Halloween.
the insidious guy. Like,
Oh, Bagul, what's his name?
What's
Bagul.
it? Oh, but-
Bagul or something
Oh,
like
no.
that.
That was Sinister, right?
Yeah,
That's
Sinister.
cool.
yes, Sinister wasn't. Sinister was pretty good, especially when you had seen it before.
Yeah,
Sinister, yeah.
I didn't see the. Oh no, I'm thinking Insidious. That's the other.
That's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like horror movies, so I've never gotten scared with any horror movies to this day and age. But I enjoy them.
Mhm.
They're so horrible that I love them.
Do you like the cheesy horror movies or do you like the hardcore, like?
Either way, like Terrifier, for example, it's like
Mhm.
as bloody as a movie can get.
Those Italian directors, Lucio Fulci directs some gross ones.
Yeah, but I like OGs, like very minimalistic, low budget horror movies.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
Um,
good. They're good. The whatchamacallit, the paranormal activities, like the very first one.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
first
Oh,
one.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that was
At the
good.
time, they were like, interesting. Do you remember, for example, I hated with all my might Cloverfield, and then you see the prequel. Have you seen that 10 Cloverfield Lane?
With Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
I like
amazing.
that one. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
But that's a prequel to a movie that I didn't like, so that's like,
Yeah.
it made me like want to rewatch it. And give it. The Rob Zombie Halloween movies, I like them for what they are. The soundtracks are pretty good, but everybody hates those.
I haven't seen any of the Rob Zombie stuff. I need to catch up on
Rob
that.
Zombie Halloween one too. Yeah.
They're
Rob does make a good movie, that's for sure. He definitely makes a good movie.
just the
Like-
Monsters one. It was pretty horrible.
Oh, I didn't see.
You see that? You saw one?
No, I didn't, the monsters.
Yeah, the what is it? The not the Adams Family, but is it in Spanish?
Oh, the Monsters? Oh, he did really?
Oh no,
Yeah,
I
he
didn't
did
see- I
a
didn't see that one.
Netflix movie.
Oh,
didn't see
really? I didn't know that.
Heard about it, yeah.
Yeah,
It's bad.
cool.
Like the Devil's Rejects and all that stuff.
Yeah, Three from Hell.
Yeah.
Devil's Reject. What's the other one?
House of a
Salem,
Thousand Corpses.
No, but the
Oh,
other
right.
one, Salem,
Salem. Something.
Oh, Salem 21 or something like that.
something like that. I don't
Something
know.
like that.
But yeah, but I like those. I like 2000s cheesy horror movies.
Did
House
you
of
watch The
Wax.
Shining? Do you guys like The Shining? I freaking love The Shining.
I
Stanley
like
Kubrick
this.
one. The Stanley Kubrick Shining.
Yeah, the first one.
I've still
I've
never
seen that
watched
one.
that group from the
Oh,
start.
it's so good.
Well, you should. I mean,
Front to back, I say.
that's a movie that I actually think deserves the hype. So you might enjoy it. It's a good movie. Actually, do you watch the sequel, Doctor Sleep? I thought it was really
I
good.
seen Doctor Sleep. That was pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
I did really.
Very bold to make a sequel so far away from.
Doctor
But
Sleep.
that's what I think from. If anyone here has not seen Psycho 2, I heavily.
Yes, I've seen that one.
I know I've seen that. It's been a long time. I need to go see it
Meg,
again.
Meg Tilly was in it. Psycho 2. Meg Tilly.
Yeah, actually, what's the director of Pulp Fiction?
Tarantino?
Oh,
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino actually said that he loves that Psycho 2, and he enjoys it way more than the first one. So it's not only me. There's other people on higher ends of the spectrum that says that. I guess again, I think it's a great movie. It gets its time. It takes care of its characters. Is actually trying to see, was this person crazy? Was he sane? Did he actually saw it? Did he actually did what he did?
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. So yeah, the
Did you ever
Stand. Oh yeah, that's a Stephen King. I when I was a kid, I went to every Stephen King movie that you could
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, that was
Tommy
classic.
Knockers. I used to love that one. Thinner. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen any of this? I Spit on Your Graves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the original.
You know, I just saw that somebody posted that on like Facebook or something, and I started to look into it, but I was like, man, I don't know if I could take it. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, they're brutal. Have you seen that Last House on the Left?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh yeah, I think I have seen that. Yeah.
That's
Really
some
brutal.
strong viewing right there.
What's Craven?
Yeah.
I like
Oh,
Wes
you're
Craven.
talking about the original one. The original one is so fucking funny because there's like horrible scenes, and there's like this soundtrack is like hellbilly fucking hippie shit. Hey everybody, go. Like, what the fuck is going on in this soundtrack? Like, there's some serious messed up shit in that movie, and the soundtrack of the original one. I have the soundtrack. You put it on, it's like hippie.
Which movie
shit.
you talking
I don't
about?
know.
Last
Last
House.
House on the Left.
Oh, Last House on the Left. Yeah.
The remake is
I've seen the remake of Last House too. Actually,
it's better. It's better than the original, yeah. But
Yeah.
but it's way harder to watch.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Nosferatu.
I've never seen that. Nosferatu.
Yeah, that's going way back. That's going like
No, but
silent
there's
film.
a new
right?
one. There's a new one coming in December.
Oh, really? Oh, I'll
Yeah,
check that out.
Roger Eagers, the guy that made what is it? Livehouse. What is the Willem Dafoe movie? The black and white one.
I never did see the Lighthouse. Actually,
Is it Lighthouse? I keep
I think
remembering
so.
names in English.
Sorry,
Yeah,
my keyboard's
he
super
made-
loud.
Yeah, so it's Roger Egers. He made The Witch. You saw that movie, The Witch?
I feel like I did.
I don't think I
Oh,
saw.
I don't think I saw that one.
The Northman.
I wanted to though.
The Northman. You saw that one?
That
Nicole
one
Kidman is on it. It was pretty big. Or anyways, so he's making a Nosferatu remake. Not
You know, what movie I thought was cool was that's what I was sitting here typing in is Jordan Peele's film. I think it's the one called Nope. Isn't that the
Yeah.
one with the cloud?
That's
over
all the
the-
aliens.
The
Yeah.
monkey.
Yeah. I thought that
The
was
monkey.
cool.
The monkey at the beginning.
Yeah, that was kind of different.
Totally
I like
different. Yeah.
I like it. I hated his version of Twilight Zone. You watch that? It's like
I didn't see that.
it's horrible. I mean, I love Twilight Zone. So if you like that,
Yeah, I've
his
seen
version-
the 63 of the Haunting. I've seen that one.
Yeah, these guys are right up my right in the wheelhouse, man. The Abbott and
The
Costello,
Haunting.
that's a great one. These are old school stuff. The Haunting is a great one, man. That's a great book too.
Yeah, The
Shirley
Haunting.
Jackson. That's a great one.
Omen.
Call me crazy, but I actually like the 1999 version of the Haunting. I think it's all right.
I enjoyed that too when I saw. I don't remember that much about it, but I remember enjoying it.
Liam Neeson.
Yeah,
Top
Liam Neeson.
Zeta Jones.
There's a new 28 years after. What's it? You remember those 28 days after?
Yeah, I think that's the one I saw. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like zombie movies or something, right?
Yeah, you know the new
Yeah.
one. It's being fully the whole movie is shot on an iPhone.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
That reminds me of Blair Witch, man. I just watched that again. I hadn't seen it since it came out.
Have you seen the remake or the second one?
No, I know. I haven't seen that
Oh,
one.
the second one was horrible.
It was such.
So
Oh,
horrible.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one.
The first one was kind of classic though, especially at the time.
Yeah.
No, the first one is really good.
Freaky ending of Blair Witch Project was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even rewatching it, even knowing what was going to happen, I was like, am I going to really be into this? But it sucked me in, man. It's still
Yeah.
good.
There's
Yeah.
there's a real life video. I don't know if anybody knows. If you know that ending of the Blair Witch, there's an actual video of somebody going to the catacombs in France. You know, the underground.
Uh-huh.
Everybody's dead in the thing. And there's a guy that actually goes in the catacombs. It's like 40 minutes, and then he like sees something, and he runs, and he drops the camera, and you can see his footsteps, and nobody knows who the guy is or whatever. And so if you like the Blair Witch Project, and you want to watch something real life, sort of like that, that's a good video. It's a good, interesting video.
I grew up with the early 80s slasher movies like Friday 13th 1 and 2 and 3.
Oh, I have. Yeah, I'm a Friday the 13th fan. The fourth one, the sixth one, favorite ones.
Yeah.
Jason Goes to Hell, my personal favorite one that I can rewatch. Nobody likes that one. Everybody hates that one. It's like James Bond when he was married on that movie.
Shoot.
For Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah, it's Diana Rigg. And,
I love that movie.
George Lazenby. Was it Roger Moore or Sean
Yeah,
Connery?
it's the only movie he made. That's what I'm saying. It's like those type of. Oh, right, yeah. Rob Zombie presents. Yeah, that's Waxwork Records.
Original. I've seen that.
Yeah, these are cool.
Well, they're pressing records now. Do you know that?
Yeah. Well, that's what this is part. Are you talking about this series right here? That's
no. Like they're actually pressing for other people. Like Dylan from Novel Records, he just pressed one of his labels, reissue labels. He pressed one at Waxwork.
Oh, that's cool.
Pressing plant now. Yeah. Well, I have to go now. I think it's almost 4 hours.
I know, man. It's getting late.
Yeah, 3.5.
Woo. I could go. I'm telling you, man. When we get together, it's like I could talk all night. But
no, but it was fun. And I came.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I had my hour and a half.
I'm a big horror movie fan, so I can talk about horror movies all day.
Yeah. Me too.
all right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up, man. I think a chance is probably, if he sees this, he's probably pissed at me. Why are you guys talking about movies for an hour?
I
But
know.
Hey, it's the free for all, wherever it's called.
Oh, yeah.
that's right. This is the B side, baby. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone hanging out, man. Especially those of you that, DJ and Vinyl Dreamscape. You guys had some great movies in there, man.
Yeah.
And I appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Also appreciate those that dumped off early. I apologize to Jason Rojas, but I appreciate Jason being here. Dawson.
Why did he left? Or what?
I think he went off screen, and then next thing he bounced. So I felt bad. He probably didn't want to talk about movies.
Yeah.
But thanks you guys, man. Jose, Brandon, Dave, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely, man.
Let's do it again.
Take
All
it
right,
easy.
guys. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Have a good one, guys.